Welcome to the first episode ever of the Mass Hypnosis podcast.
Miguel, I'm so happy that we talked about doing something together, and this all started on Facebook. Because my dream has always been to do a call-in show, and I don't know where that dream started, but I'm very excited. I'm very excited that we could do this together. It's like a 900 number line from the 80s and 90s.
Except free for our listeners.
It is free in U.S. and Canada.
In the U.S. and Canada, and anyone with Skype, I think.
This is true.
Yeah, it was a Facebook thread about.
It was a Facebook thread, and because I get a lot of traffic on my Facebook page, and a lot of people they tell their stories and they're so great, but then I go, they're only talking about this on my page. It's like, we need to capture all these people's stories and their love, and I want to hear from them, because I spend a lot of my time interviewing people and setting up interviews with folks who make and work on films. So I've always been curious in the stories of others. So we're letting the fans have the floor.
Yes. So it's funny because you're a producer, you do just about everything. You're a writer, you're a critic. So you get to air, you have a platform for your own opinions and feelings all the time. And me, I direct a film festival, I have a podcast, and I get to talk about what I like to talk about all the time. But we really want to hear from all the people out there and kind of get their opinions. So this is less about us talking about our stuff and more about we want to hear from you.
The world has enough of us.
That's true.
Right? Right? They're just sick of us. So I'm excited to wonder who's going to be our first caller.
Well, we already have a first call. Shall we take it?
I'm excited, yes.
Let's do it. So, hey, you are on the Mass Hypnosis podcast. Who is this?
Live.
I think. Caller?
We're having ghosts call in.
We're having a ghost call in. The one thing that makes me happy about this is this happens on AM radio and NPR all the time. So,
well, that's what's important. I was telling my very close friend that I hope Mr. Leonard calls up from Z100 Days. Z Morning Zoo calls. Yes.
How about
that was part of it, is that people wouldn't call up. There'd be a lot of air. We'd sort of be forced to talk about our recipes and what we're doing and what we've been watching.
Yeah. And that a lot of this might be that. I mean, do you have any recipes prepared?
I don't. Well, I can sort of speak to my interest in VHS, how this happened. Many, many years ago, when this is not even sort of like the origin of VHS story. This is like when I saw the beginning of VHS culture. I used to go to horror conventions all the time, and I would just die to see all these VHS that I wanted to rent and wanted to have, but it was too much money, and they were $1 everywhere. Big boxes, Vineyard, and then it dawned upon me, because there were so many. I was the only one buying them because it's $1.50, or just take it. It's like, get this damn thing out of my sight. And I wrote something on Dread Central about it. And at that same time, Lunch Meat magazine had its first issue. So they had a deeper insight into what was then going to become this entire thing, this entire VHS culture.
And the kind of rekindling of interest in it too.
Yeah, and that was right before everything started to cost like $20, $75, thousands of dollars, because they're just like, get these things off my table.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing to me how some of the big boxes especially are going for astronomical prices next to other titles that are still kind of getting out there for $5 or free. Just take it away from me. Yes,
I had that happen once. I was in, where was I? I was in Pennsylvania or upstate New York, and I saw a VHS copy of Dr. Giggles, and I went like, how much is this? And like a true, like someone outside of New York, we never carry cash on us. So even if like we're buying a coffee for $1.50, it goes on the card. And I go like, I don't have any cash on me. And she goes, you know what? Just take it. So it's kind of like that scene out of like Goodfellas. It's like she gave
Yes.
you Dr. Giggles on VHS out of respect. But it probably was just to get the goddamn thing out of her face.
Well, do you
And it
have
was
lots,
Dr. Giggles.
do you have lots of yard sales and things like that where you live?
I not where I live in, not where I live in Jersey City. I get them because it's like, well, most people decided to sacrifice all their stuff for the next technology. People who know me or visit my my house will notice that I have 2 televisions. They're both analog. One analog TV I graduated high school with, and the one that I generally watch is slightly bigger than the other one, and it's attached to a VHS, a DVD player, and a switcher. I do not have a flat screen. I don't have a Blu-ray. I can't even watch the things that I work on. At some point, I will upgrade to an OLD. So that will tell you about why I have my VHS. I tried so hard when I was a young pirate at 14 years old, looking for the letterbox uncut version of Evil Dead 2 and making my father go to 3 stores. And I had bootleg stuff off HBO, old commercials, things like the Horror Hall of Fame, when Pinhead was on Entertainment Weekly doing the red carpet for Hellraiser 3. I have those clips. So there is no way as a horror fan I was ever giving up my VHS. And then the VHS that I bought at Suncoast Video. And I'm not and I love to look at people's collections, but I'm not a collector to recreate my own video stores to have stuff. I need to collect all the movies that I have wanted to see but couldn't, because it was around that cusp of mom and pop video stores and Blockbuster. So the Blockbusters killed my mom and pop video stores, and I couldn't watch certain horror films.
Well,
so those are the ones that I'm trying to reclaim in my life.
That's true. Blockbuster did eradicate. I had, in my hometown in Maryland, there was just a store called Video next to a donut shop, and it was the best. And then that got taken over by Errol's Video. I don't know if you had an Errol's where you lived, but I do have an Errol's commercial I might play later on in this episode that I found. And that was kind of like the big chain video store before the behemoth of Blockbuster came around. But then Errol's turned into Blockbuster. And so my favorite video store went through these changes before it became Blockbuster. And the thing about Blockbuster is it was just all new releases with very little of older movies that I wanted to see. And when it comes to horror, it was just worthless because Blockbuster was such a, family-centric, saccharine company that it was just worthless and sad. And that's why, I started buying movies more, I think, because it was harder to rent them, because Blockbuster had usurped everything. And I really wanted to see stuff that I wanted to see. I actually ended up working at a Suncoast Video in 1997. And so I had access to a lot of those things. I got to see the 1997 Godzilla, the one with Matthew Broderick, in our cardboard cutout before we were allowed to show it to the public, which I don't think that's something to brag about, but that's one memory I have of working at Suncoast.
I had three stores I went to. It was like Video Magic, and I think Video Plus, that I used to go. I would research in Fangoria. The Fangoria's home video guide. The second one with Jason on the cover is kind of cyan covered, and my Phantom of the Movie guide. And I would have my lists and go to stores and rent a lot of the old films. And I tried to with all my heart, because to work there, The people would come up and they would ask questions like, go ask that girl back there. She knows so much about movies. And I don't want to say that we live in a sexist society, but a lot of girls that I know had the same story, that they knew so much about genre. They knew so much about movies. They're an encyclopedia of movies, and none of them ever worked in a video store. I want you to know that I tried to work at so many video stores and in the mall. No one would ever hire me. They would not hire me. For some reason.
I think a lot of people have that. I'm just going to interrupt for 1 second because we have a couple of calls. Let's take one. You are on Mass Hypnosis podcast. Who we're talking to? I don't hear anybody.
We may want to go to a commercial break.
Yeah. Caller who is in our room right now, if you can hear us, we can't hear you. And we want to hear your story. So let me try to figure this out, but I am going to go to a commercial break. We have some audio things lined up for you for your listening pleasure. And let's go with this one because it's a little bit longer.
From now on, you do exactly as I say.
Prepare yourself for the hideous.
They love, they hate, they kill.
The gruesome.
It had a hideously distorted face.
The horrifying.
Blood. The whole house reeks of it.
Prepare yourself for horror.
Can't you see what he's doing to us? He's burying us alive.
Introducing the new Universal Horror Classics Collection. 4 creepy classics now available on video cassette. The Black Castle. Black Friday. Murders in the Zoo. And Night Monster. Featuring Boris Karloff. Bela Lugosi. Lon Chaney Jr. and Lionel Atwill. The Universal Horror Classics Collection. Collect all 4. Available for just $14.98 each or less.
A little knowledge of the occult is dangerous.
A little knowledge of the occult is dangerous, of course. We still have a caller, I think, online, I hope.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay. So is it a Skype thing that's
so it is my switchboard and Skype and call-in studio and Spreaker studio all working together to make this show happen. And I swear to God, I woke up at 9 a.m. and have been testing this and making calls and having people. I can have a list of people to vouch me that I made them Skype me and I made them call and I tested this every which way to Sunday and it always worked great. And of course, now that we're live and advertising, it's being fun. It's having fun.
Of course it works that way.
Isn't that the way though? Isn't that always the way? And I half expected this because that is the cruelty.
You know who would be yelling? You know who would be yelling at us right now? Will. Will would be
McKinley.
Yelling at us right now.
know.
I can see him wagging his finger at us.
I think I might have a New York number waiting. Actually, I wonder if that is Will.
Oh, hi, Will.
Maybe it is. I don't know if it is or not. Oh, Heather Buckley is calling. She's calling us. So let's see if we drop you. Sorry.
Okay.
Hello.
I'm still here. Can you hear me?
Holy shit.
I can totally hear you.
Hi, Heather. I'm Jim.
Hi, Jim.
Holy
cool. I
shit.
used my magical skills to figure it out.
I just wanted you guys to know.
Miguel, you need to be called into the center, and then I just call in regularly. We both can't be called into the call center.
Okay, that's it. Could that have been it this whole time?
That's right. That's right.
We might have to go long tonight, Heather.
We might. I got all night. I got all night long for everybody. So, who is Jim? I want to know. Tell me about you.
Jim's a great guy, but I'm gonna let him talk about himself. Go, Jim.
Oh, gee, thanks. I write a little blog called the Draconic Verses. And I also have guest hosted more than a fair share of TCM parties, mostly for monster movies.
TCM parties? Turner Classic Movies?
Do you want to explain those, or shall I explain, Jim? Go for it, since you're the host.
Well, TCM parties are get-togethers of film fans watching TCM movies on Turner Classic Movies, and we do live tweet-alongs. And there'll be fun facts being revealed, and there's also usually a hell of a lot of riffing going on.
Something that I love about Turner Classic Movies are when things are on Turner Classic Movies that are not classics. That are so obviously not classics. It's like Turner Classic Maximum Overdrive. It's like, what?
Have you
I know that they're
during the TCM Underground. It's like 2 a.m.
Actually,
Saturdays.
No, I haven't. Generally because, well, I'm getting older now, and it's hard for me to stay up that. Sorry. Keep that music down, you kids. No, but I'm also one of Miguel's fellow Godzilla fans, too. Like, basically, that pile of videos that he showed in the picture on Facebook, I had pretty much every single one of those same ones.
Oh man, that's about a third of the ones I have. Let's post lots of pictures, Jim, to the Facebook page as we.
Well, all of my VHS tapes are actually all packed up right now. I'm still in the process of sorting out the new Dragon's Den. I don't know if you've been seeing the pictures that I posted over the last couple of months on my Facebook page, Miguel.
Well, now
I got a new back room added onto my bedroom, and it's basically the back half of my garage, and it got converted, and I now have an entire wall filled with comic book boxes, and I got my bookcases in here, and right now it's semi-storage, semi-usable. I'm trying to launch my own YouTube channel right now, too, for the Draconic Verses. I'm trying to upgrade and stay with the times, like you kids like to say.
Like me, who has like an analog TV they graduated high school with. Sad.
Well, I mean, I love
the
that.
First time I saw Ghidra the Three.
Go for it, Jim.
What?
You go ahead.
Well, the first time I saw Monster Zero was on a portable 12-inch black and white TV with a broken antenna that I had a hanger sticking out of.
That's living.
Yeah, that sounds like heaven to me.
I was like 10, 11 years old.
So on that,
and I was allowed to stay up late.
On that note, when since that's the topic of today's show, believe it or not, everybody, VHS Memories.
I thought it was more about troubleshooting.
About what?
Troubleshooting
VHS.
Yes.
Well, do you have any stories about VHS, including troubleshooting, because that's definitely part of it, that really stick out to you? And I think we want to know too about, the format and just the home video culture from when you were a kid, that any stories that really kind of changed your life or formed Jim as we know him today. Well,
VHS really didn't hit until I was just about out of high school. I mean, we got our first VCR. We got a VHS, I think, just after I graduated high school. We moved into a new house, and one of the things we got was a VCR, and we found a mom-and-pop video rental store. This is before Blockbuster came along and Hollywood Video came along. So, and it was just amazing that they had all these things. I mean, and the first tape that I ever rented was a tape of an episode of Beanie and Cecil by Bob Clampett.
Yeah.
And because I loved that show when I was a little kid, and I couldn't believe that they had a tape of it, so I got it. And another thing, too, from that same store, and this really did make a little bit of an impact for me as far as some of my classic movie tastes. This store actually had a copy of The Seven Faces of Dr. Lao.
Oh yeah.
Which I had never seen before, except for scenes on a TV documentary called The Fantasy Film Worlds of George Pal, which I do have a tape of that somewhere still. I know it's packed up in a bin someplace here. And I saw this footage from this movie. It had footage from all of his movies. And I already had a VHS of War of the Worlds. Plus, I was recording stuff, too, off of AMC, back when it was a classic film channel. And I was taping stuff off of Channel 13, because Channel 13 occasionally would run Universal monster movie marathons out of nowhere. Channel 13 is PBS out here.
I want to mention, too, for anyone who's listening, Jim, Seven Faces of Dr. Lao, right? That's the one with Tony Randall playing all kinds of wacky characters, including the titular Dr. Lao.
Yes.
I just wanted to...
Yeah, I did a whole write-up. It is now one of my favorite movies. It really is. And it's a magical film, and it's got a good positive message to it. And unfortunately, it is very maligned by the so-called whitewashing crowd, because Dr. Lao is a... Yes.
But it was also 1964.
The thing is, it was 1964. You were not going to find an Asian actor who could play 7 different parts with different voices and everything. That was the whole part of it, I think, too, is that Randall was able to play all these different people. But the thing is, he wasn't just pretending to be these different people. He became these different people, because one of them was a Greek prophet called Apollonius of Tyre, who was blind. And you see at one point when he's reaching for his coin that the customer left for him, he's reaching for it. He can't see. So when he is Apollonius of Tyre, he is blind. So, and the thing is, too, Lao chooses when to speak full-blown Oxford professor English or broken Cantonese.
So
he does it for the perception of the people.
So this movie you found on VHS, that was obviously kind of a important one for you. Do you still have that? Is that in your collection still the same VHS you found ages ago, or is it one that is lost to the sounds?
No, because I was a very naughty 20-year-old, and I copied. So I didn't have a store-bought copy. That's because back then movies were like, especially non-mass market movies like Star Wars or Ghostbusters or anything like that. Back then, a lot of movies were $50 or $60.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they were really made to be rented at the time, not bought per se.
It was not mass consumable at the time, except for very few. I do actually have. I have to find the Star Wars tape. Notice I'm saying Star Wars, not A New Hope. That's because this tape is from before Chapter 4, A New Hope, was in the opening. Yeah. It doesn't have any New Hope text on it at all. There's no copy on it anywhere on the box.
And it still has the 20th Century
But I
Fox
do have
opening.
Yep. And I do have my original VHS tapes for Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. In fact, I put pictures of them on my. I know I have pictures of those in my Facebook albums.
That's glorious. Well, Jim, I am going to take the next call, but I wanted to.
We love your story.
What's that?
Excuse me.
I loved the Lao story.
Oh, thank you.
Release your tapes, man. Don't let them stay in a box for too long. They need to live. They need to play.
And breathe.
They need to be.
I know. Some of them Yeah, the thing is too, it's all a matter of space as well. I mean, I also used to have a public domain movie distribution. I used to sell public domain sci-fi and horror movies, especially the grade B's and Z's. The name was Monster Movie Theater, and my motto was, I sell the finest cheese. So, and I had master tapes of everything. So I had at one point over 900 different movies.
Wow.
So, and I still have a lot of them, but as I get some more space in here and more of my shelves put up, I'll be able to put more of those out, and I'll definitely be putting some pictures up.
Well,
we're cheering you on.
Indeed,
we're cheering you
share
on.
The pictures, Jim. We'll talk to you later, buddy. Thanks for being caller number 1.
All right, take care. Good luck with the show.
Caller number 1.
Thanks a lot.
We made it work.
Next. Been waiting for 15 minutes. A real trooper. Hello. Let's see if he's there.
Am I next? Or?
Oh, yes. Hi.
This is actually working. I want to cry because this is my dream.
I know.
We have a call-in show. We have a call-in show.
We do.
Are you talking to me? Because I've been on the line for this entire time. I listened to Jim's whole thing.
It's Jack.
You're a trooper. Is this Jack?
It is.
It sure is.
You are a trooper.
Jack,
brother.
who was just edited today to edit two discs for legendary series that we can't even say.
Yes. All right. Well, good to know we can't. Now I won't let it drop.
Yes.
It was that close.
I keep everything that I work on close to my chest. And when it's released, it's tagging galore and everyone's joy. But today we're talking about VHS, Jack, and you have some VHS memories you want to share with the kids at home.
Sure. I mean, it's cool too, because just listening to what Jim was saying, it made me realize just how many mainstream movies I actually saw first on VHS, and how sometimes there are versions of movies that I've never seen since. Because, I remember the first time I saw Star Wars was on VHS and was taped off of TV, and my parents had diligently paused the tape every time it got to a commercial, but not before the little bumpers that were at every commercial break, where there was a star field, and then this animated yellow square appeared, and then sort of like a celebrity of the day would say to the camera, well, I remember the first time I saw Star Wars, and I saw it 8 times. It would be like, you'd see B. Arthur saying, like, when I first saw Star Wars, and things like that. It was so strange. It was at Red Button saying, like, when I first saw Star Wars, that kind of thing. The only one I really remember was the Flintstones. There was an animated bumper, and you had Fred going, when I first saw Star Wars, me and Wilma, and it's just like, wait a minute, hold on, how does that work? And I saw Superman 2 taped off of television. I had on VHS, and there's a scene in Superman 2 that I've never seen again that I always thought was in the movie, and when I rewatched it in the last few years, there's a scene where this kid jumps on a horse. You can see the kid in the movie. He jumps on a horse in the town to get help and takes off. And the guy from the Philip Marlowe movie, what's his name? Moose Malloy. I can't remember the name of the actor. Jack O'Halloran, I think. He rips the police light off the top of the squad car and pitches the thing like a football, and it soars through the air and knocks the kid off the horse. And you see it in long shots, so it's really chilling. And this old woman says, "He was only a boy." And the bad lady steps forward and says, "Who'll never grow up to be a man." And when I was a kid, I was like, holy shit. Oh, I'm sorry, can I curse?
Yes, we're explicit.
We're NC-17.
Excellent. And then I was like, holy fuck. So I remember, I was so disturbed by that as a kid, I had to fast forward through it. And then, of course, I was bracing myself as an adult to see that scene. And it's not in the movie. It's not in the deleted scenes. It's not in anything. It's just in the version that aired on network television. It was some additional scene, might have even been a Donner scene that was slipped back into Superman 2. So it's like, by watching movies on VHS for the first time around, I actually saw things that I've never seen since.
Yeah, the Who Framed Roger Rabbit also had a TV edit with a scene that wasn't in the theatrical, where Eddie was taken to Toontown.
Is it the pig face?
With the pig face. Yeah.
Yes.
That was in the TV edit. So right.
God, I had no idea.
Right, that wasn't.
I've heard about that scene.
Mm-hmm. So if you were
my favorite scene. Oh, go ahead.
If you recorded that off TV, it would be the same example that you just gave.
My second favorite scene, two of my favorite scenes, but my second favorite scene in Jaws 2 is not in the movie, and I always thought it was in the movie. It's a deleted scene, and that's when the town council votes to remove Brody as chief, and the one person who votes to keep him is the mayor, is Larry, the mayor who, you know, in the first one. It was so cool. It was the culmination of their relationship from the first one. The one guy that votes to keep Brody is the guy who was such a pain in the ass to him, you know, the first time around.
So what does that mean to you when you see that scene? Redemption?
You know what's interesting? It plays on the history of a character, and in a way that we're really seeing now with episodic television, when you live with characters for a long time. I think it's not redemption so much as we share a secret with the character. Like, we know why he would vote to keep Brody because we saw the first movie, you know? And I love that. I love when you can watch. That's one of the reasons why I love continuities in movie series that don't recast and don't do big shakeups, because you can live in the reality of the characters a little bit and sort of follow their trajectories in a very real way. That's one of my biggest pet peeves in movies when they make sequels is recasting, because then it's like, but it's not the same person.
There's actually a VHS pirated copy that I have of Ninth Configuration that has the better sort of climax scene in it than the one that you could get on Blu-ray and DVD. It's discussed on DVD why it's different and why the choice is different, but I can only show it to people on my pirated VHS of it. I think I posted it recently on Facebook. It's at Ninth Configuration and King Comedies on the same disc, because that's what I was watching when I was 14 years old.
See, that is the other thing that happens when you're recording off of television, is you end up with these beautifully, like, dissonant kind of collections of movies on the same VHS.
Oh, yeah. Like those, when you record in the slowest mode and you have like 4 movies on one VHS tape.
SP, my friend.
And then you put one in your... And if you don't label it, then you have to find the movie that you're trying to... So you'll fast forward to... No, wait, and you got to go back and you got to adjust. You're like, oh, wait, I'm about halfway through the second movie now. And yeah, it's always... I remember... I told Heather this. I remember... it felt like I could only get privacy in my house when I was up late watching movies. Like that became sort of a trend. I have 2 brothers. I'm the middle child. And in the kind of house where the shape of the house, a light sleeper is going to get woken up by pretty much anything that happens in the kitchen, TV area, that sort of area. And so it was always very precarious watching movies, finding the right volume to watch them at, so I don't wake up, you know, my dad, who would come downstairs and tell me to go to bed, basically. So in the middle of the night, it was always, you know, I'm watching movies, and I'm usually watching transgressive movies to begin with, but then there would be things where if I hit eject, and I had to be real careful about how loud the VCR spit the tape out. And there would be moments where sometimes I would sort of hold my hand out in a way so I could soften the blow of the VHS tape getting spit out. Or there was a VHS rewinder next to the VCR and sometimes it was soft and sometimes it was super loud. It just sort of depended on the tape, it seems. And it would be another one where if I pressed down on it, it would actually soften the noise a little bit sometimes. But I would stick the thing in, and it would sound so loud, so immediately. I knew I was caught. You know, it would be like 2 a.m. or whatever. I knew I was caught watching a movie, and it's like, oh no, you know, throw a pillow over it, like I'm smothering the VHS rewinder. I actually
worth it.
Well, I discovered the counterculture because of VHS.
Yeah,
and I've talked about this a lot.
I think
it wasn't just.
Go ahead.
What were you gonna say, Miguel?
I think that.
Well, it wasn't
element. Yeah, go ahead. You have the talking stick. Go.
This is the problem of doing this all on phone. The video store that I went to, I had been going to a video store in a mall that was the closest one to my place, and then one day my brother had rented a movie, my older brother, that was from a different place, and I was looking at it like, what is this? And I tried to figure out what it was, and then finally I think I just badgered him to taking me there. I would have been 15 or 16, and it was a place called Video Vault in Alexandria, Virginia. And Video Vault is a famous sort of culty place. A lot of people from that area know about this place and it wasn't just movies that I discovered when I went there. I went there and met friends who were like my friend Tad, who's a total hardcore punk rocker and like really living the life and everything. And just meeting him and talking to him, I was taken away from the mall in more ways than one by starting to go to that video store, you know? Like it became an entry point into a whole world of things that had not yet floated into my radar. And then all of a sudden, you know, that was my moment where I went from listening to Led Zeppelin to listening to the Ramones, you know? So,
thank you, VHS.
And that's exactly, and such a big thing. I don't know how the kids today make that transition. I don't know how they discover it, because I discovered it through video stores and record stores, and they're both disappearing, you know?
Well, I mean, it's kind of like the punk rock thing, too. Are we losing some of what makes it dangerous? Are we losing some of what makes it kind of, you know, I feel
we need punk rock more than ever. But, of course, everyone knows my stance on that.
Yeah, indeed. Hey, before we take the next call, because our next caller has been waiting 21 minutes now, another awesome trooper. Before Jim was able to give us, you know, some of the things he's working on, like Draconic Voices. So what do you want to kind of pimp for your, like, what should we look out for your stuff? Where do we find you?
Well, you can follow me on Twitter, which is @JackBennett. And right now, I would just have to be vague about everything because it's all in that phase that, you know, as Heather and I have described. Right now, it's all in that phase where I'm even close to done on some things, but it's not out yet and it's not announced yet.
Well, that's where your Twitter can come in handy, sir.
Exactly. I will say this. I'm working on a project with Brendan Small. I'm working on a project with Clay McLeod Chapman. I'm working on a project with Fun Size Horror. And I'm doing something with Screen Junkies, who make the Honest trailers. So there you go. I'm working with those folks. I'm not going to tell you what it is. They're going to tell you what it is.
Excellent. Well, we'll keep an eye out. Thanks so much for being caller number 2 and for all of your awesome stories, Jack. It's always good to hear from you, my friend.
Absolutely. I got 1 million, so keep this going. I'll call back.
And it'll only get better from here.
We could be going all night long.
We could be.
Best to you, too.
Tell everybody to keep calling. I'm going to bring our next caller here. Been very patient. You are now in the...
Hey, Miguel.
Who's this?
Miguel? Hey, it's James J. Coker.
Hey, James Coker.
Miguel?
Yes, can you hear me?
Hey, Miguel. I'm cool. I can hear you. I can hear both of you. I've been on the line for a little while, but happy to be on the show.
I'm very happy. We're trying to get the gremlins out of it, and specifically not the Joe Dante gremlins, but the one in Cast a Deadly Spell, because this is a VHS show. You can only get that on VHS.
Exactly.
So they were all over the place, and then I just felt like, what if Miguel just had to be on a call in, and I would just call him, and this miracle happened. And now you're here to talk to us about VHS.
Yes, yeah. I tried calling a little earlier, but like I didn't hear anything, and I think there were some bugs and gremlins in the system or something.
We've exercised them through Linnea Quigley's horror workout tape.
Horror workout. The shocking thing is I have never seen that VHS tape.
Oh, I have it. So.
Is it a desired one for you?
No, to be honest, the VHS tape I'm trying. It's funny that you said Cast the Deadly Spell is still only on VHS because this isn't what I was originally going to talk about. But I was going to ask you two, what are some other horror movies that are still only out on VHS, and you would love if like Scream Factory or Vinegar or Olive or Arrow Video puts out on Blu-ray or DVD? For me, somebody needs to get a hold of The Brain.
Oh yes, my friend, I agree with that.
Somebody needs to get a hold of The Brain and put that out because that movie is just that shit, and I love it.
That is a good one.
And, a lot of the problem is, James, that the rights are in limbo. So, in the past, that was the main problem. Now you have that same problem, and it's coupled with the difficulty in the DVD market, which has shrunk considerably, as we all know. So,
I think it's a big collector's market now, more than a civilian market.
And as you you can probably explain that a lot more than I can, Heather, as a producer yourself.
That is well in both sense. I mean, I'm talking about sort of my day job doing stuff for like Kino, Vinegar Syndrome, and Scream Factory with Red Shirt Severin, Elijah Drenner, all those guys. I know that we work very hard, and it's great desirability amongst the collector's market for vintage, cool OG product. But the new stuff, yeah, I mean, people like to stream, but I love all types of technology because I think listening to a cassette versus listening to a record versus listening to a compressed MP3. If someone was in my car, I listen to CDs just because it's easier than to scroll through 1,000 titles to have like these little discs that I have 12 choices on each disc. Or what I do, you just let the Misfits play, and that's the soundtrack to your ride constantly. Because that's the song of New Jersey, the Misfits.
Yeah. That reminds me of, though a lot of people right now are streaming movies, just listening to music right there, but as convenient as I find streaming to be, part of me that misses before streaming was I miss the culture of video stores.
Yeah, it's the detective work you have to do, too.
I miss walking into a video store and having all the titles over there, and you would see a movie based on the really lurid cover art, and you would flip it on the back and be like, okay, what the hell is this? And just take a chance with that. I miss people just taking that chance. I mean, granted, nowadays it's like you do have people sometimes taking a chance with like Netflix titles based on the cover art on there, but a lot of times they'll try to give it its own rating, and you'll be like, oh, it has a bad rating, and you won't even... And a lot of people won't even take a chance on that weird cover art for a Netflix title versus if they actually went to a video store. And I to this day, I know video stores are not going to come back anytime soon, but to this day, okay, I'm pretty much a lot younger than Jim beforehand, but I do remember vividly video stores from my childhood since I was born in 88, so I pretty much got all of the 90s for my childhood. And I remember walking into video stores, and I would avoid the horror section like a plague until I was about 7 years old because the VHS cover for Child's Play 2 just fucked me up as a kid. The one where he's holding the scissors with the jack in the box.
Yeah, it says, sorry, Nightmares. Jack, Chucky's back.
Yes, nightmares. And you know what was even worse is, I want to ask you, do you guys, speaking of video stores, do you guys remember the 4 to 5 foot cardboard video store standee ads that they would have inside video stores?
I have them in my apartment. The one that I have is Graveyard Shift with the coffin and the hand coming around holding the VHS, but I would go and beg for these things. I do. I have Texas.
Oh my God! I didn't even know that one existed.
With the lid opening up, shocker, And I would just come in there as like a little strange girl and ask them for posters and ask them for the standees. Yeah. I take my heart.
Oh my God!
The
one from my childhood.
Go for it.
Oh no, go ahead now.
I was gonna say I was telling a story earlier in the show where it was Suncoast. It wasn't a rental, but we used to have to, when I worked at Suncoast Video, we used to have to put together all those standees because some of them, as you mentioned, are huge and they took a lot of putting together. And one time, I didn't quite tell the whole story, but there was one for the 1997 Godzilla, the one with Matthew Broderick. And the thing is, there was the older, it's terrible. But on top of it being terrible, is there was a huge embargo on anyone seeing what Godzilla looked like before opening night of the film. It was just a huge thing, and we had representatives from the studios or whoever they were, people from Suncoast, sending us letters because I think this was before we got email at work, and just make sure that it does not get seen by the public. And we had to put it together in the back room of Suncoast, which was this tiny closet shaped space. But I remember being able to kind of brag at the time that I was able to say that I saw Godzilla before anyone else did. Of course, then I realized
bragging rights. It
wasn't really bragging rights because the movie sucked, but
well, bragging rights before the movie came out, and it surely disappointed everybody.
Even you knew that it was bad.
Yeah. But the thing is, the first video store standee that I remember seeing as a kid was, I think my earliest years, as I can remember, I lived in Ontario, California, and we went to a video store. It was right next to Graziano's Pizza. I remember that. And the video store had a 4 or 5 foot cardboard standee for Pumpkinhead. And it had the Pumpkinhead monster right there with the moon and the crooked tree. And of course, it had in the corner of it, it said, a rent now on video cassette. You ever notice that the video store standees would never say VHS or videotape? They would always say video cassette.
Yes. In fact, I have...
Well, they say...
I have a number of commercials that I have lined up in case we didn't get any callers. And some are commercials for titles, and they all say, coming soon on video cassette.
Cassette? Why did the studio say video cassette when I can literally remember everybody calling it videotape or VHS?
Out of step, out of touch.
Exactly. I remember...
I actually think I have an answer for you,
Okay.
So I could be wrong, but I think it was a copyright thing. So I'm pretty sure.
Oh.
I'd have to research this. I'm going off of memory, and my memory is old. But I'm pretty sure that Panasonic had the rights on the word videotape, the Panasonic videotape. And the generic term for that product was video cassette. And what happens if everyone uses the copywritten name for something, then the company that owns that copyright, their copyright automatically expires. So the common that's why in the 90s there were rollerblades, right? But you would never see ads for rollerblades. They would be called inline roller skates because rollerblades were a brand.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. Huh.
Kleenex too. Kleenex lost their Xerox. Yeah. So I think that's the reason.
Xerox.
Oh, okay. All right. I always wondered that as a kid, but yeah, the Pumpkinhead standee scared the crap out of me as a kid. And then, I think a year later, they had the cardboard standee for Child's Play 2. The Sorry Jack, Chucky's Back with the Jack-in-the-Box. And I was already scared of the VHS cover. So now this thing was 4 fucking feet tall. And I was like, I stayed in the car while my dad rented VHS tapes. I stayed in the car until I was about 7. When my dad actually introduced me to a little bit more horror movies with 70s and 80s horror films. Because before that, the only thing, it was weird in my childhood. I would avoid Chucky and Leprechaun like the plague. But from 3 to 7, I would watch Tales from the Crypt episodes.
I wonder if that's because...
Tales from the Crypt...
I mean, you saw Tales from the Crypt, though, on TV, right? Were you just afraid of Chucky and Leprechaun from their marketing?
I can't understand Child's Play fans and the fear of Chucky.
That's what I think. I think it was because, as a kid, I liked the Tales from the Crypt episodes because of how punny the Crypt Keeper was and how, like, ghoulish the episodes were.
You sound like a Freddy Krueger fan.
Yes, I am a Freddy Krueger fan, too. I am a Freddy Krueger fan, too. Yes, I am.
Because I think that within the soul of who you are will match mass killer that you identify with. And you can be sitting with somebody, having a beer, and going, Jason Voorhees, correct? How did you know? It's true.
But the thing is, it's like, I could watch Tales from the Crypt like it was nothing at 3 years old to 7, but I couldn't deal with Chucky or Leprechaun because they were small monsters and the marketing got to me.
We need to do a small monsters episode.
Monster?
Yes, we could do about 7 small monsters episodes.
Yeah, any kind of a small monsters, I was out. And, it was weird. My childhood was weird. I grew up with VHS tapes. I remember specifically, like, watching a movie on VHS. There were 2 movies I watched on VHS, and I would literally stop it once it was done and rewind it and sit there for 5 minutes while it made that ring sound just so I can watch it again. And that was Gremlins 2 and Ghostbusters 2.
Wow. I wonder what that
Gremlins 2 and Ghostbusters 2, I was just... But yeah, I grew up with VHS tapes. I always loved the culture of the video stores. I remember video stores changing. I think it was from 2003 to 2005, right before they stopped making VHS tapes, or at least in the States. But I remember from 2003 to 2005, Blockbusters and Hollywood Videos would have like a little section for their VHS tapes, and then the rest would be all DVDs.
Yeah, that transition happened right at the late 90s, early 2000s. But James, I think I'm going to go to our next caller. But
always feel free to call back later, especially if we're going on for 7 hours.
Keep listening and see if we're still around and if we have dead air. I do want to mention one thing, though, James, is my friend just wrote a book. Yeah. I interviewed him about it for the Horrible Imaginings podcast. It's called Videosyncratic.
Yes.
And it's about his owning a video store and the life of a video store. And I think you'd really like it. So that's a recommendation for you. Thanks for calling. We're going to go to the next one, and maybe we'll talk to you later, James.
Thank you for having me on, guys. All right, have a good one. All right, bye.
All right, next caller. Can we hear you?
Hello?
Hello.
Hello?
Who are we talking to?
This is Ethan. Friend.
No.
And VHS enthusiast. Oh, you haven't yet begun to say, oh, no, my friend. You haven't yet. So, yes, VHS.
VHS.
What? Tell me about your VHS experience, Mr. Halo.
Oh, my God. So many. No, I mean, look. Where do I even begin? One topic I wanted to discuss. First of all, I was thinking about really how fucking expensive it was.
Mm-hmm.
VHS at the beginning. Like, to join a video club was like, you had to put down a deposit. We didn't get a VCR until I was in high school. But our first video rental place, it was like $70 on deposit. So that if you didn't bring back the tape, as eventually I didn't, you ended up with a $70 copy of Scanners on VHS. And the late fees. I'm sorry. It's part of my Catskills routine. And the late fees, let me tell you. No, but, you'd rent some horrible shit that you didn't even know you know what I mean? Like, you end up like Black Pet Shampoo, which had a great cover. It was a just dreary, boring movie. And then you just, you get occupied with school or whatever, and it's like, oh yeah, $20, and you don't even own it.
It's true. It was kind of like edge play with VHS, because it's like, can
you look at it another day, you have horrible guilt because you'd be like, do I bring you back today or no? Cha-ching.
It becomes,
would make the experience that much worse.
A shame cycle.
It was. It's absolutely true.
We know what's funny
and
about that.
I was lucky. I was lucky because my video store was because I lived in kind of like a rundown, kind of crappy, sort of suburban, but sort of not.
That's because
our video store was like, it was a real mix of, it wasn't a hip, outwardly hip video store, but it must have had hip people ordering stuff because it had a good art house section and a good exploitation section and horror section. And that was really, I think, where what we now call grindhouse culture. I don't mean that particular video store. I just mean through video stores was how that really, like an underground or a counterculture, as the earlier caller had mentioned. It was a way that kids could just stumble upon stuff and really stumble upon it because you would walk from one aisle to another and the boxes would jump out at you and you look at it and be like, and especially if you're a horny teenager, sometimes you'd rent something because it looked like it probably had good nudity in it, and it would be a great movie. And you'd be like, holy crap.
What would be an example of that?
Oh, my God. Of course, now that I've said that, I have no idea. Let's get back with another topic. Nudity in general in the rental VHS market was enjoyable.
Yeah.
Oh, the slasher films, yeah.
That I remember you telling me that you would fall deeply in love with these girls, only for them to be.
That was in general, but I saw that on cable.
That's more a cable.
I'm a codependent mess. So I would see some girl and feel sorry for her and be like, "Oh, that guy jilted her," and then I got to watch an axe, split her head in half. So yeah, when I was a kid, this is a different topic, but I didn't enjoy slasher films that much because they were more sad. They were more depressing than scary to me. It's hopeless.
What
find a nice girl and then she's impaled.
What's your preferred subgenre?
Oh God, I really was, especially. Well, I was always a smartass in reading Psychotronic and Phantom of the Video Guide and everything. So I was on the lookout primarily horror, exploitation. I found my first John Waters film was Polyester on cable, but then I got to see Pink Flamingos and stuff like that. And then Miracles, like the films of Rudy Ray Moore, where you didn't hear anything about it. You just picked up a box. There was no, I was not, this is what I mean, I wasn't a serious hardcore VH person in terms of, the amount of effort that people will go through. You can't even imagine.
Oh, I
can,
my friend.
With newsletters and fanzines, pen pals.
Let me tell you how many times I spent $60 on a 6th generation bootleg copy of Story of Ricky because it was impossible to find.
And the thing is, a lot of the people who were, and again, I was not part of this culture, though I would have if I could have, but a lot of those people who came out of that black market or gray market world and then came on to create a lot of DVD and Blu-ray supplement culture. They were the people who carried that forward and had the knowledge, the information, and God bless people like the late Mike Vraney and everything, up through Don May, up through, Michael Felsher, who Heather works with, who really they were serious fans and had to scrounge and suffer, and they're professionals now working and spreading the virus. But one thing I liked about renting movies, speaking of nudity, was that you would rent a movie that had maybe a particularly choice and well-known bit of nudity, and you're watching on VHS, and suddenly, maybe about 5 seconds before it, the tape would degrade dramatically.
Yeah.
There'd suddenly be tracking lines and grain, and you'd be like, okay, here it comes. From all the people who would rent it and hit pause or slow motion and wear the tape out.
Yeah. It was the VHS version of the pages of the magazine stuck together.
Brilliant. Yeah, exactly. And I had a couple friends of mine who were real little bastards. implied by them being friends of mine, who rented Easy Money, the Rodney Dangerfield film. And apparently, I don't know if I've ever seen this movie, but there's a famous pair of tits in it. So they took their camcorder, they rented the tape, put Scotch tape over the copy guard hole, which meant that you could then tape over it. Mm-hmm. And then took a camcorder, and one of my friends, dumb 15-year-old kid, put a stocking over his face. And right at the moment when the tits were to be revealed, they dubbed over him going, "You are missing the best pair of tits you've ever seen. They're awesome. They're amazing. Okay, sorry, bye." And then went right back to the movie. So they did it for the exact length that the tits were shown. And you could just imagine the collective anger of everybody who rented the tape after that.
That's brilliant. Oh, I think that story was worth this entire show.
You have my condolences. If you'd like to go back to another hour of just trying to get calls through. Hello? Might be preferable to the garbage that drips from my mouth.
That was the whole Andy Kaufman bit we were working on.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, it was brilliant. Very conceptual.
Oh, man.
But, Heather, in addition to standees, there are other video store collectibles that I guess were premiums that were offered to the store owners. And Heather has a couple of wonderful ones. Why don't you share with us, Heather? We'll start with the little ones, the cute little ones from the House series.
Oh, yeah. So I'm part
of House 2, the second story.
I'm part of VHS groups, and I saw someone had the Catter Puppy up. It was the little dog from House 2, and on the bottom it said New World Pictures, and I was bidding for it. And someone who's like a friendly acquaintance from the group said, "Hey, we're both bidding on it together." And I said, "You don't have enough money in your life savings to get this, because it's mine. Because my sister and I are obsessed with that damn thing." And I got it. I got it for a good price, $75. But the one that and I'm so glad that I worked on the House series. I was
Heather High Roller Buckley.
It's true. It's true. And I got to meet the father, the FX artist that sculpted the cat. It's like, you made the Catter Puppy. It's Mike Smithson, but she got a second one then. I would be at Video Magic, and my little eyes would just stare at the Return of the Living Dead 2 porcelain. It's almost like a Franklin Mint zombie statue of the poster, which is sort of the fog with the skull face in the graveyard, and it said Return of the Living Dead Part 2. I hated a film that I love, and they wouldn't give it to me. And it dawned upon me one day, why don't I look for it on eBay? And lo and behold, there was one on eBay at an astronomical dollar amount. And the eBay seller was the girlfriend of the guy who owned it. And I tried to level with her. It's like, no one's going to drop this cash. I'll take it for this amount of money. Everyone hates this film. And I kept telling her that for the run of the thing. And when it came to the end, she goes like, I talked to my boyfriend. He'll take your bid. And I said, I told you, nobody wants this thing. And so it's like, it's such a prized piece in my life. So in my living room, in my cabinet of curiosities, I have the porcelain, I don't even know what you would call it, sort of 3-dimensional ad that you would just put in your store for Return of the Living Dead.
Something that it's something like your grandma, in terms of how it's made, how it's fashioned. It's like this beautiful porcelain thing your grandma will put on the shelf between like the Hummel and the Toby jug.
It is. It's like a horror Hummel, because it's been like, it is. It's fired, it's glazed, it has like the little sticker on it. I know this is like theater of the mind for just a movie, and I keep bringing it up because I've tried to say that I'm a fan of Return of the Living Dead 2, and aren't people heartless because Forey Jackerman has a cameo in that film, and how could you not like that film? And I keep the VHS because it has the original soundtrack, which you can't get anymore, but you cannot convince the movie-going public.
But Heather took it further. You're leaving out the climax. Heather went to a screening of Return of the Living Dead Part 2.
Oh, no, I went to a screening of Shockwaves by the same director.
Oh, Shockwaves, excuse me. That had the same director, Ken Wiederhorn. Yeah.
Mm.
And she brought her Return of the Living Dead 2 thing. Or she brought a picture of it.
An image of it, and I showed it to him, and he ran away.
What? She chased him. She chased him with the reminder of his shame, because he's not that crazy about the movie, as evidenced by the movie. So,
it's a brilliant film.
So she tormented him. So I think that collectible paid for itself on that night.
Yes, that's one of my prized VHS collectibles.
Heather, I'm currently doing a movie biography of Heather, and it's basically a remake of Color of Money, in which Heather goes around and just hustles people for old, unloved horror movie collectibles.
My Terror in the Aisles, like little thing you hang from the ceiling and spins around. Yeah, because I love things that like you in your heart find so much worth for, but are worthless. Like my Fangoria slipcases are like that. That they're worth nothing. They're worth nothing, but they're incredibly rare. And I love them.
That is so much about cult film culture.
That is the definition,
like,
right?
There's a level of kind of maybe codependency or something. Where you feel sorry. You're like, oh, come on. No one loves you but, it's like, Jar Jar, everyone hates you but me. You have, like, somebody's got to love it.
It's loving the unloved.
It's just, yeah.
Destigmatizing the stigmatized, at least for yourself. I mean, the ultimate cult is something where, there's just a small group of people who they're the only ones who care about it or the only ones who know about it.
Also, you think you found it and you're the only one.
Yeah. That's why it's like, I hesitate to call something like Rocky Horror Picture Show a cult movie. It's kind of gone beyond the cult status, I think. It's a little too huge. But House 2, I'd say, and paying $75 for a Catter Puppy, I think that qualifies.
and my beloved Shock Treatment that's on Key Video. The obsessions around the logos that are on these things. My Texas Chainsaw Massacre, when I first saw it on VHS, Video Treasures with the beautiful painted cover of Leatherface in the background, Gunnar, and Marilyn running.
I remember that one, actually.
Gorgeous. Some people have the Sistine Chapel to fall in love with. Not here, my friends.
I mean, that is the Sistine Chapel.
Yes.
Another aspect of VHS sexuality back in ye oldie pioneery days, before we had hot and cold running porn everywhere you go, was when you would borrow like a friend, I'm talking like kids in high school or something. You borrow a friend's videotape just to watch a movie. They'd have Caddyshack on it or something. But then you'd watch past the end of the movie and see what else they had on the tape. If they had it, as you said earlier about, like the EP speed, SLP speed. So they would fit on some unusual, they'd have a strange film festival where it would be like Amadeus and Caddyshack and, an episode of The Odd Couple or something. But sometimes you'd get their highlight reel of late night HBO jack-off material where you'd go through and you'd see Jamie Lee Curtis in Trading Places. Mm-hmm. I had a friend who hated horror movies, but he did have the part from Friday the 13th Part 2 where the girl walks naked out of the lake.
Yeah.
And it was fascinating. You look and you realize you'd laugh at it after having a totally, of course, ironic masturbation session to it. Then you go back to laughing at it again and bust his balls about it at school. And of course, oh no, I would never, yeah, right.
I think,
but and it's back in the day when to get any kind, when you have if we didn't have movie channels at my house, we only had basic cable, so
Scramble
the old timey, but the 3 channels where you'd watch negative snatch because if you press down like 3, 5, and 7, you could get in like the Playboy Channel signal, kind of. But it would be like an animated Rorschach test version of it, where it would be switching to negative and static, and then upside down, and yet it would require more imagination to masturbate to that than if you just closed your eyes and thought of some movie star.
Well, I mean, there are a couple of things going on.
But you did it anyway.
Sometimes it would clear for a fraction of a second.
Yeah, exactly.
And then
you'd be poised for that second to just sort of like absorb it into your head. Okay, there we go. Good. I got something to work with.
Last you like 2 weeks. You'd have to remember that fraction of a second.
Horrible. Really horrible.
These are also the days, about that story. We people used to be a lot more embarrassed, I think, about masturbation than they seem to be now. So I feel like, if kids today ran into their buddies' highlight reel, I mean, it's just so ubiquitous now. That's like, oh yeah, I got mine at home.
People swap them or send. Obviously, they send each other pictures or videos or whatever.
There's no specialness to it. No value.
Back in the day, you find it by accident. That's the important thing. It was magical. Wow, it's a side of you I've never seen. I had no idea you enjoyed this sequence in Hard Bodies too.
Lifelong friendships were forged.
But not because we were too uptight. Like we could only, break each other's balls about it. That was it.
Yeah. It was something to be embarrassed about. It's not anymore.
It's the thing about. I know I've really taken too long here, so I will sign off.
Queue right now, or I would have bugged you.
Oh Christ! Okay.
Going.
Very sorry. Then I will. Then let's pretend it's Joe Franklin going all night. just reminiscences, my friends. Nothing to sell, nothing to plug. Just looking back in the good old days.
Yeah.
The first VHS.
Ethan, do you have any VHS at your house? Because I know you have like all your DVDs, Blu-rays. You know how many Blu-rays I have. But do you?
Well,
I don't think I've seen any there.
I don't have that many. No, I sold off. I had accumulated a lot over the years. But I sold a bunch off when DVDs came. And I didn't have anything. I feel bad calling in because it's not like, the people who we know who had all kinds of, rare or Dario Argento footage. You know what I mean? Like when they have all kinds of.
Why did you feel
I had the most. What?
Yes. I said, why did you feel it was okay to sell off your VHS? Unlike some
I had no sentimental attachment to like a VHS at Beverly Hills Cop. Like there was nothing. That's what I mean. Like I had a pretty big collection, but it wasn't like, wow, this is my rare, whatever the fuck, people who have like, something from like Mike Rainey's Innermost Vault of, hey, look, it's Betty Page filleting Divine, and it was only available in Romania. You know what I mean? Like I have nothing like that. So it was really like, what I think is funny is the series. I was not one of them, but VHS collectors who would collect like TV series, and just the sheer space that those collections would take up. Like there was a Dark Shadows complete series VHS collection that was something like 256 tapes.
Yep. I had many of them myself.
Wow. I mean, how did it feel when DVD came on? You know what I mean? Like, damn you.
Well, let me tell you, my friend, I had those for a long time because those didn't come out really on DVD for a long time, except in these little sections. And granted, on VHS, they were in little sections as well. But I didn't want to go out and spend tons of money for little sections. But recently, The Dark Shadows has the big coffin-shaped box set with all 1,226 episodes. And I got that for my birthday. So,
and like roughly how much is that? And it's on DVD or Blu-ray?
It's on DVD, not Blu-ray.
And like how much was that relative to how much the VHS whole collection would have been?
So much cheaper. You have no idea.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy And the thought of having this stuff on crude, smeary, shitty, unmatted, improperly matted VHS.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like I'm blinking back tears. Well, I can watch 40% of the screen of Halloween whenever I want. And I was like drunk with power. You have no idea.
Well, I mean, it was the beginning of the time where even having that film in your home was possible, and that was a magical thing.
Yeah, it's still, as I get older, as I realize life's joys are dwindling, and I realize that's one of those things. Will I recapture that feeling? The first Halloween was the first VHS I ever bought, because it was rare. That it was when they started putting stuff out in sell-through prices, which means less than like if you were buying like Porky's 2 the next day for $59.95, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So like you could get like a $20 and so $20 for Halloween was like, oh my God. And it was a Media Home Entertainment logo, and it was magic. It was great. And you look back at it now, and it's like, what? But and then the second one I ever purchased, also sell through like at $25, Dawn of the Dead.
Dawn of the Dead came out in several different sets on VHS, and some of them were
I had
great.
The one that was just like a double set,
Mm-hmm.
like the big one that you couldn't put it all on one, or they had both of them.
Yeah, I had the double
like
also. I bought it. That was like the director's cut. Yeah,
and I still have it because I'm something that throws it away. Don't throw away my VHS.
No, I still have that as well. Actually, the one with the gate. It was two.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Beautiful.
It was black with the red.
Another era of VHS is when Laserdisc and DVD were now, they sort of established themselves. I mean, Laserdisc was dying, but there's suddenly all this content that was exclusive to those formats that people, I didn't have a DVD player until fairly late anyway. So like they would try and put like a director's commentary on a VHS. So you'd have to buy like a 2-pack of the movie, and it would have 2 copies of the film, one with the commentary track and one without. Or buying stuff that was letterboxed on VHS, which was a big deal. And that was one of the big revelations that Laserdisc brought, was just not realizing that pan and scan wasn't a film style.
Yes.
That a lot of films from the 50s and 60s that I only ever saw on television, like I don't know why I didn't know what was going on. It would be these weird, I'd look at the framing and there'd be nobody properly framed in the shot. You get like somebody's ear on the left.
They literally cut it off. It wasn't pan and scan. They just
they cut it, or they would have it where where they would and then when they would pan it, sometimes it would be like, oh look, there's like James Garner, and as he's speaking, unmotivated by anything, the camera is just robotically sliding over to fit in, Julie Andrews or whoever.
Yeah, I mean,
and it would be, and I thought that filmmakers were just shitty. I was like, why are you doing it like this? I had no idea that it was because, and that when directors in interviews would complain about transfers to VHS, a lot of filmmakers resisted VHS and TV in general because they hated how their films looked, and I always assumed it was some kind of snobbery because if it wasn't on, a perfect celluloid. But it was like, no, of course, they were completely right. I mean, Stan Brakhage refused to let his stuff come out on VHS because it didn't look good.
I mean, earlier in the episode, I was talking about how I worked at Suncoast, and the argument that you would end up getting in with customers are the ones who would come in with their letterboxed versions of VHS when they started releasing those and complaining about the black bars and trying to convince them that that's a good thing. It was maddening.
And that was another reason why Blockbuster was in many ways a cancer on the video industry, was because they refused to have letterboxing, even in DVDs.
Yeah.
So that the studios would have to make a specially made for Blockbuster transfer in some cases.
That sounds un-American, if you ask me.
Yeah, and Blockbuster would not have the letterbox version available.
Oh, I hate Blockbuster.
I just realized that it knocked out all my little video stores, and I didn't get a chance to watch everything I needed to watch.
And that was done with purpose, Heather. I mean, that's
it was. They're right across the street, and it's like, and there's no competition because those little video stores didn't have 1,000 copies of the most famous popular films. They were like going to a library or to my favorite comic book store, St. Mark's. They're like cultural institutions of old dusty things.
Mm-hmm. And for a lot of them, that's the only way they were able to stay alive for as long as they were, is they had to find that niche customer base that would come for those dusty things and have just enough of those people that they could tread water. And that was it.
And then right across the street, they would erect these monsters known as Blockbuster.
And
to kill
one of my local video stores.
Go ahead, Ethan.
One that I used to go to. One of the video stores I used to go to was in a mini mall, and a Blockbuster moved like in the same mini mall. And the video store had put a sign in the wall saying, "We've been part of this community for 11 years, and please support." I mean, it was really plaintive, and of course, it was like it was like somebody's final words because they were out of there within months.
Wow, that's a really depressing note, Ethan, because we have another person in the queue, and I feel like we need to go ahead and take their call.
I have annoyed all of you for more than long enough. I'm very sorry.
Now we're so sad.
So good luck with your VHS memories.
Soon.
Keep listening,
yes.
Ethan.
Oh, I will. And let me know if you need somebody else to smut up the airwaves later.
That was
okay.
hilarious.
All the best. Thank you very much. I had a good time. Okay. Bye.
Later. Moving on.
Hello there. Who's our next friend?
Hello.
Hello.
Who do we have?
Seth. My name is Seth. How are you? Hi.
Seth. Hi, Seth.
Seth?
Yes. Where are you calling from? Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from LA.
Nice.
It's an 818 number, so yeah.
I don't. That's my Valley number from when I used to live in the Valley. I'm fully East Side now. Not that that means anything if you don't live in LA, but
I'm outing you as a Valley
I have
boy.
to say it.
I didn't know there was shame. I didn't know there was shame because I'm from the East Coast.
No, there's total shame. There's total Valley shame, and I didn't know it. And that's just where I lived first. It was a mistake.
Thanks for calling.
So yeah, I have. Yeah, no, totally. I have a to cast a deadly spell story that's kind of embarrassing because it utterly destroys any horror credibility I have. I loved it, and I have a geeky aunt who introduced me to it, and it was just sort of stuck in my subconscious for a very long time. And I thought about it frequently, and me and my nerdy friends that played role-playing games, I made them think I made this universe up, and I tried to run things in this sort of magic detective-y world. But I didn't realize that this is terrible. I wasn't aware of what I didn't know that H.P. Lovecraft was like a guy who did stuff and wrote books. And I literally thought that To Cast a Deadly Spell was somehow connected to Evil Dead because they both had a Necronomicon in them. And I didn't know that this was like a thing that went back many years. I thought that this was like legitimately some sort of narrative connection between Evil Dead and To Cast a Deadly Spell. Like, if that had happened to me now, I would say they were like in the same, like, cinematic universe or something. So in my head, they went together. And that's like my great shame.
Isn't Fred Ward's name in that actually H.P. Lovecraft as Detective H.P. Lovecraft? I'm pretty sure it is.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know that was a dude who wrote books,
Oh man, that's a beautiful story.
And, I mean, for you, it's kind of horrific for me, but.
Well, what can we do to get this movie released? That's what I want you to answer.
Well, it's funny because I just looked it up because it's been so long since I thought about it. I had no idea that Gail Ann Hurd produced it.
Need someone to tweet you right now while we're on the cast. We should do that.
Gail Ann Hurd on it.
Yeah.
She's on.
Yeah, no, she did a ton of things, and she's super awesome. And I have no idea if she has any sort of connection to it whatsoever, but I think that she's I won't talk shit about Gail Ann Hurd. I'll just say that she's awesome to me. I love her.
Oh, yeah.
I think that she just whether you like The Walking Dead or not, just there's so many parts of my childhood that she was a part of, and I didn't realize it. And whenever I find something that she was involved in and I didn't know it, I get like strangely excited.
I just tweeted to her, when is it coming out on Blue? Maybe we'll get some answers in real time.
We could get Fred Ward. We can get Clancy Brown. We can get.
You know what the best conversation I had with a movie that's not out on Blu-ray? I was interviewing Richard Mazer for The Thing, and at the end of the interview we were just talking about stuff, and I thought, wouldn't it be hysterical if I brought up Mr. Boogedy, which I have typed on Disney Channel on VHS, and it's like a real actor like Richard Mazer. It's just going to be funny to talk about. It's kind of like when I talked about Your Mom's a Werewolf with John Schuck,
yes.
like Robert John Schuck, who also like found it wonderful and told me great John Saxon stories. But when I bring this up with Richard, he goes, Mr. Boogedy, people bring that up all the time, that there's their favorite Halloween movie. Why is that not out on Blue? It's a wonderful film. Richard, I did not expect that Mazer was truly and honestly a fan of the Boogedy series. So I demand that to come out on Blue, so then I could watch. What is it? Midnight Hour, which I have on VHS, which I believe is not out on Blue, followed by the Boogedy series. I can't think of anything more glorious.
Does this have something to do with them being made for TV movies?
All of these are made for TV films. Yeah, because Cast of Deadly Spells on HBO.
Yeah, it was an HBO made for TV movie. So is there something about made for TV movies that makes it harder to release them, or is it that distribution companies are just not looking to the old made for TV catalogs? Because there were hundreds and hundreds of these movies. So I don't know. I wonder. But it's up to us, right? It's up to us to make the fight for releasing these. You know what, Heather, this is your job. I want to see.
My job is to document the men and women behind these films.
You have no say on
who was behind the Midnight Hour.
There we go.
I would have to get up and go to my living room and find my disc. I have a Halloween VHS disc where it has Judd Hirsch's Dracula, which is pretty amazing. It's like a 20-minute kids movie about saving Halloween. And I believe John Schuck is in it as well. It's a beautiful thing. That
you have to be making that up. That can't be real.
I can, like, when this is over, like in the next 12 hours, because we're just going to go all night. We're going to go all night. I will go and take a shot of it. I just have to dig back there, because in my living, I have a beautiful, creepy living room, and all my VHS are under where my DVDs and Blu-rays are, but they haven't been put in such a way that it looks a whole. I want to get a custom thing made for them, so they're sort of stacked on like at a layer of two. So you have to get down there, remove the first layer, but it's there. It's there.
I've wanted to see. I think I saw Midnight Hour like in a cutout bin somewhere when I was like 13, and I was going to spend my hard-earned $5 on it, but I didn't, because I'm like, no, that's on TV. Like every Halloween, I'll see it again. And then one year it didn't come back, and it never came back again. And now there's a lot of regret.
If our paths ever cross, we can watch it, because I'm, as we said, equipped with switcher, VHS, analog TV. So it could be like the old days. You don't have to see the horrible up-resed on these gorgeous TVs. No, we can look like something that the tracking is forever broken on. My fuzzy TV.
I have a present was given to me many years ago. I got Ringu as a bootleg VHS tape. I don't even know if I have a VHS player currently, but I can't get rid of that tape because that's like the best way to get that movie.
Yeah, 100%.
It is beautiful.
It was like beautiful. It was made to be seen in that format. That was on purpose. I think it was even shot in 4:3, if I remember. I mean,
how about the name of the movie is The Night Dracula Saved the World?
Is that the name for real?
Yes, it is. It was a Disney Channel made for TV movie, aired in 1979, shot in Tarrytown, New York, with Robert Fitch, John Schuck, Jack Riley, Henry Gibson. It's brilliant. Marianne Hartley. It is because it's about like 20 or 30 minutes long, and you just see the cover, so you don't care what it's about. It's like, I don't care what this is about. You see the cover, you have $3 in your pocket, and you come home with it. It's like when you it's like when you go to shows and like the pin's $1, and it's like, I got $1, and so you wind up with 1,000 pins. So I'll post about this film. So, others need to know about it. It can't be a secret anymore.
I just looked it up, and the VHS cover is pretty marvelous.
Fall in love with it. Fall in love with it. It's meant to be loved. That would be an amazing film fest of Halloween-esque VHS movies.
Well, I was thinking we should do an episode all about like what I tend to call gateway drug horror for kids, kind of like kid-friendly horror that gets kids interested in scary stuff and helps them blossom into horror fans like this or Mr. Boogedy, or there's so many, Monster Squad or whatever.
Squad.
Yeah. I feel like we don't get as many of those lately. I think we have, Hotel Transylvania and things like that, but I don't see them.
I always consider those to be Monster Party movies, like right. Like Mad Monster Party, Transylvania 65000, Transylvania Twist, even things like Return of Swamp Thing, because it's monsters as friends that sometimes could be a little scary, but there's a friendliness to them, and I think the reason people don't like Return of the Living Dead 2 is that the Fright fan is derisive of it, because it is taking what they love and making it adorable. But I always, regardless of the brutality of any film, I will always find monsters adorable. There's no time in my life that I did not watch Texas Chainsaw Massacre and think Leatherface was the most adorable, handsomest guy ever. There's no time in my life.
I think a lot of people would agree with that assessment.
It's completely 100% true. So there you go. VHS, man. Is there anyone that you saw as a kid that you were deathly afraid of? Mine was Midnight Massacre.
Like an actual movie, or just seeing the actual VHS box?
The cover, just to see it out in general population.
Microwave Massacre.
Oh, excellent choice.
We have the same one. That's crazy. That was always mine.
I mean,
yes.
That dude's head, and like for whatever when I was a kid, we were like one of the first people to get a VCR. I don't know why, and this was before video stores, and basically the only place you could rent a VHS tape was from the back of the place where you bought the VHS store. So you'd have to walk into some utility store where they're selling refrigerators and washing machines, and there's like the little TV corner in the back where they sold the VCRs, and that's where you went to go and rent your videos. And wherever my dad bought this VCR, we had to go to get our movies. They must have just been like signed up to with, whatever B distributors they could, because it was nothing but like Road Warrior ripoffs, Roger Corman movies, and every like Z-grade horror movie you could possibly think of. And I rented, I swear, every single one of them except for Microwave Massacre, because that head just like terrified me.
I have to ask, so were you a little bit disappointed when you actually saw Microwave Massacre and it's really not scary?
I don't know if I've actually ever seen it. I may have like put it out of my brain and like never went back and looked at it, and then at some point just assumed it had to have been terrible and never bothered.
All right, Seth, you're in LA.
I'm just admitting
to you.
I'm just admitting all my terrible, like, bad horror fan sins.
Well, I was frightened of that cover, too. That's the number one cover I was frightened of, and I've always been looking for the Midnight Video VHS that's not $100, but it's a horror comedy, because I was able to rent it at 411 Video on Long Island, along with another gem called Violent Shit, and then 3 on a Meat Hook.
Oh, yeah. The lovely
and I put it in, and it's a comedy. Midnight Massacre is it's like a Catskills horror film. It's that kind of humor. It's wonderful in its own way.
Midnight Massacre or
Microwave Massacre?
You saying Midnight?
Microwave Massacre. Microwave Massacre is a comedy.
So here's the thing about Microwave Massacre, Seth, that I want you to know and might alleviate some of your anxiety. Okay, so picture All in the Family, but Archie Bunker is a cannibal. And
you're just making it sound awesome.
It's totally awesome. And not only that, I'm going to take it a step farther. The Archie Bunker cannibal character is played by none other than Jackie Vernon, who you would probably recognize as Frosty the Snowman. The old he was the voice of that cartoon that we all saw. Yeah. He is Microwave Massacre.
That's disturbing.
It's disturbing.
The other one, my close second to Microwave Massacre was one that I was really torn by because I was at that point in my life, I was a total little Star Wars kid, was Galaxy of Terror. And it wasn't the cover. There was a picture on the back that scared me. But I knew it was like spacey, so I really had it. And eventually my dad let me rent it, having no idea how fucked up it was. And, that clearly scarred me for life. It was about the time that, Joni goes into the tunnel and Miranda gets squished by all the tentacles that I was terrified to get in my bed because it was clearly the same thing.
I love it.
There is one cover that actually gave me nightmares, and I still remember dreaming about it. And it's the cover of Argento's Phenomena back when it was Creepers in the U.S. on VHS, and it had Jennifer Connelly on the cover with flies and bugs eating her face, and half of her face was a skull.
Yeah.
Terrified me. Like, pee in pants scared of that one. I don't know what it is. I think it's just the bug thing. But I would dream about
the Evil Dead poster, the Evil Dead 2 poster at my, and it was just the skull with the eyes.
Yeah.
But for some reason, it was so ominous.
Well, the eyes are looking right at you.
It was right, like Jesus eyes, like lenticular Jesus eyes. The skull was looking at you, and I couldn't stand it. I couldn't stand it.
I'm gonna call them Jesus eyes from now on. You know what? That just reminds me, both of you, if you want to get scared, you should find a Mexican flea market. And they have lots of those lenticular Jesus faces. And if you look really well, there's one that's kind of a close-up of Jesus' face crucified on the cross. And the only thing that changes when you turn, twist or with the angle of the lenticular cover is his eyes are closed and then they open. And it's the scariest thing ever.
It's horrifying.
Yeah.
Pretty terrifying.
Yes. So is there any? So, Mr. Seth, is there any other VHS memories you need to share, or do you need to skedaddle?
I feel like I had one to talk about a second ago, and now, of course, I can't remember what it was. Nothing as embarrassing as not knowing who H.P. Lovecraft was.
That's pretty. This is like, they have like love confession lines. We should do confess.
Yes,
like I could confess how
bad horror.
How long it took me to see Halloween? You don't even want to know. Nobody wants to know. The worst thing ever.
Halloween, really? Wow.
Halloween. I think it had to be like 5 years ago I sat down and watched the whole thing.
Holy crap. That is really shocking.
Exactly. That is, and I could swear that I've watched all the slasher films, but I watched them on cable and on sort of like USA, and that's not watching the film.
No, it's
so
not.
I can't say that you sat down and did you watch Friday the 13th? Did you watch it in this original ratio? Did you take the time? I'm too busy watching garbage all day long for food. You sit down and actually enjoy cinema. Perhaps when I actually. Did you buy VHS when you were around? You were a collector at all?
Do I what?
Do you buy VHS when you're around?
Yeah, I mean, like, you go to Amoeba and you can buy it for like $1. At least, I mean, you could like a year ago. Now it's getting popular again, so it's hard. I'm just looking at what VHS. I have a handful these days. I'm looking at. I do have the most terrifying thing ever on VHS, and that's the Star Wars Holiday Special.
Yes.
Well, the
used to
are horrifying.
Someone mentioned B. Arthur earlier, and I wanted to mention the holiday special, and I didn't get a chance to.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm glad you did.
Well, I'm glad I brought it around. I used to, in college, I would use it to, like, when I had a party and I was ready for people to leave, you just put that on and it'll clear a room super fast.
Well, would it clear Star Wars fans? I think they would gather around the television, no?
No, they're the ones who will.
No, because I mean, it's so like disconcertingly bad.
It's like you were talking about, Heather.
I mean,
about Return of the Living Dead too.
Exactly, where like the people who love it are the ones who are going to be the most.
Slowly, I turn around. That's what it is. It's like the Susquehanna Hat Company, and just you become irrationally angry or needing to leave. I just don't feel that way about that cinema, because the holiday tries as hard as it can with the people that it had involved, the producers, the writing, the cast. That's as good of a thing that you would have in that combination,
right?
So you gotta love it,
including the Star Wars Holiday Special.
Oh, I don't know if you have to, but
yes.
What you really love is you have to watch the reactions of people who hadn't seen it before. That is joy.
Oh yeah, that's like better than like 2 Girls 1 Cup reaction videos. It's insane.
Well, guess what? We have 2 people in the queue.
We feel famous.
Well, then I will
Thank you for calling.
Awkward. Absolutely.
Thanks so much.
Talking to you.
It's been a joy.
Awesome.
All right, moving on to our next caller. Hello.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Hi, great. Who are we talking to?
This is Kevin. I just want to follow up from the conversation about the Star Wars Holiday Special. I went to a midnight screening in New York City where they showed the Holiday Special. And it's just like the passage of time is incredible. You know, it feels so much longer than it is. Following the special, though, they screened the Donnie and Marie episode where they do Star Wars, where they have Chris Christopherson as Han Solo. They have Red Fox as, I think he's Augie Ben Doggy. Paul Lynde shows up as an Imperial Guardsman. And it is probably about 16 minutes long, and it's just like a bunch of quick musical bits and gags. It's so breezy and delightful. Donnie and Marie play Luke and Leia, and at the time, we didn't know that Luke and Leia were brother and sister, so that was really ahead of the curve. So if there are Star Wars fans listening, and there's got to be, right, track down that Donnie and Marie, because that's worth checking out.
I just have to ask this really quickly. You said that Red Fox plays Augie Ben Doggy. That's like from the Hardware Wars, right?
Oh no, I'm confusing my parodies. I'm totally confusing my parodies. Sorry.
I just wanted to make sure.
Sorry about
that. That would make it even weirder.
That would make it pretty. It was like the space race. Who was going to make that joke first? I had in the beginning of the episode, I'd been trying to call in, and I wrote to Heather on Facebook. I want to talk about big video boxes and gimmicky video boxes. I feel like there was kind of like a William Castle style movement of coming up with gimmicky video boxes, and I wanted to know if you guys had any favorites.
Do you want to go first, Heather?
Well, yes. Well, I posted under Mr. Kevin Mars thing is that what comes to mind first is the Elvira series that she put out with House That Dripped Blood and Dr. Jekyll. It's the Cyclops box. It bothered me, that illustration, and it bothers me to this day. So much so that I don't think I would buy the VHS. I feel the same with Vineyard, is that there's something about like a bladder effect or this sort of strange uncanniness in Vineyard that I just I can't deal with. But Cyclops, I don't want at my house either.
Okay.
Not welcome here.
So
I would leave it outside the door. It's like, you're not coming in. I don't want you here. Someone else take you. House That Dripped Blood, no problem. I can put its shoes under my bed any day.
For me, I think it has to be the obvious "Want a Date?" video box from Frankenhooker.
Sure, Frankenhooker.
The talking video box.
Beautiful.
That at my video store was pressed so many times that eventually you'd go in and push it and be like, "Want a date?" Which was,
and that also had
go ahead.
The VHS box for Frankenhooker also had the Bill Murray pull quote on it, right?
Oh, that's right. Yep. Yeah.
They got Bill Murray to say, if you see one movie this year, see Frankenhooker. And I recently found out the story behind that, which is Frankenhooker was being edited in an edit suite, and across the hall, Bill Murray was working on a project. I guess he was editing a film or sitting in on some edits, and he would get bored very easily, and he would just go see what other people were working on. So he ended up seeing a lot of Frankenhooker during his time in the edit, and they asked him for a pull quote, and he gave it to him.
Oh man, that's a beautiful story. It's a beautiful story.
Yeah.
Any others? What about yours?
I remember, I never saw the movie, but was it the Dead Pit? It had like a textured pop out not 3D,
three-dimensional
illusion,
with blinking eyes.
It had a third dimension and a button that you could make the eyes of the zombie light up, and it would make like a little noise. It was kind of like the equivalent of those greeting cards that would play a little bit of music when you opened them up. I remember really giant boxes for a low-budget film called Lunch Meat.
Yeah. That
had a huge box. And then The Wizard of Gore, I know there's a bunch of different versions of it, but at Video Bazaar in Metuchen, New Jersey, they had a huge, huge VHS case.
The Meat Eater also had an exceptionally massive...
With the fork, that's right.
With the fork and the eyeball. Did you actually see that movie? Uh-huh. You did?
Which ones did I see? I saw Lunch Meat, and I think I saw The Meat Eater, or I saw part of The Meat Eater. Does that take place in a movie theater?
It does. So I always cite The Meat Eater, despite, on top of it having the ridiculous box, with the great cover, admittedly. It's a really boring movie.
Yeah.
But it has the most shameless product placement. Do you remember what that's for?
Oh, I can't remember it. What is it?
Oscar Mayer wieners. There are
with the title like The Meat Eater.
I know. There are two scenes. One is because it's a family who owns a movie theater, and in one scene the kids go up and it's like, "Mom, I'm hungry." "Well, son, why don't you have a juicy Oscar Mayer wiener?" And it has, on that rotating kind of display. And then there's another scene where the family's driving in a car and singing the Oscar Mayer theme song.
Wow. That's
it's like
great.
Mac and
That's amazing. I remember in Lunch Meat, they say the title of the film a bunch of times where it's like they go on a picnic. It's like, who brought the lunch meat? I thought you brought the lunch meat. Oh, don't worry, I have the lunch meat. It was just so unnecessary.
That's how many times they say Caroline Poltergeist 3.
How many times they say what in Poltergeist 3?
Caroline.
They say it a lot.
They say it a lot. And at Fantastic Fest last year, they actually did a countdown of how many times Carol Ann is said in all the series. And I think it had to be like over 150 or 200 just for the third one alone, to try to make us forget that the little girl is no longer in the film and is played as a stunt double, I would believe. So invoking that name is that sort of magician or distraction from that fact. I don't believe it worked.
It was for tragic reasons, too, so it makes it even...
Incredibly tragic. Yes.
Makes it even kind of worse.
It does.
Wow.
Heartbreaking.
Man, I do miss the...
Well, I'm glad you guys have your... Oh, sorry. I was just going to say I'm glad you guys have your tech up and running, and congratulations on the premiere episode. Thanks so much for taking my call.
Oh, well, thank you. I mean...
Love to. Thanks, Kevin.
Yeah, it was a blast.
Anytime. What's the second episode going to be about, or do you know yet?
We do, and we will announce it before we say goodnight.
Okay, I won't force your hand. I'll listen to the rest. Have a good night, guys. Thanks.
You too. Thanks.
Good night, man.
Good night.
Okay, moving on. We've got a call.
Lovely. Sir Kevin Marr of Kevin Geeks Out in New York City.
Oh, that was Kevin. Oh, really? Hi, Kevin. Thanks.
Yes.
So we've got a new call. Hi, who's this?
This is Michael Felsher calling. How are you?
Hello. Wow.
But Michael Felsher, you're not talking to your audience?
It's been like 3 hours.
I'm actually... Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what are you guys still doing on, because I think you guys went on around the same time that I went on, so it's just like, and I don't know when to shut up. So it took
a half hour to get the bugs out, but then I tried something on my end with Skype, and it and the show is going well. But this is to the listeners at home. This is Michael Felsher, my boss and owner of the legendary Red Shirt Pictures.
Thanks for calling.
So how are you guys doing tonight?
Your own live show.
Yeah, my live show. You make it sound a lot more produced than it really is. It's basically I just go on camera and talk about random shit for an hour and a half. But that's fine. You guys at least have a theme. You guys you're like a legitimate thing because you're going to stay on topic. I don't do that. So I'm kind of like the dog. I'm kind of like the dog. I'm like the dog from Up. I'll be like, well, I was thinking about that squirrel. So what? So you've been talking about VHS. So VHS has been the subject of tonight's discussion, I take it.
Yes, it has been. And for some reason, Cast a Deadly Spell has come up a few times, and the Star Wars holiday special. Only one caller has talked about the need of watching VHS as a young boy to see lady parts.
I didn't. Yeah, well, of course I did that, but mostly back then it was scrambled cable signals that I would try to see the nudity through whenever the distortion wasn't that bad. That's how I got most of my. Boy, that was.
We
good
had that
time.
Discussion.
Yeah.
We had that discussion too.
Really?
About, the lengths, my friend, the lengths that we would go through just to see a boob.
Oh God. Yeah, I hate to get onto an old kids today don't know what we had to go through for our porn. It was you kids today, you can just whack it to any old thing on the internet. Back then, we had to use Sears catalogs and scrambled TV signals from On TV and, R-rated skin flicks from the 80s. By God, we worked that.
Don't forget taking photography art books into the library bathroom.
Oh God, yeah. There there were a lot of art books that were not usable as art books again after that. It was good times, you know, just and God help if a stray National Geographic with some of those African boobies showed up. You know, come on.
That's true. All the National Geographic magazine of the tribes.
No, I'm not. Hey, I'm not. Believe me, there's a lot of people who are listening to this probably right now going, "Hey, that's true." Yeah, very true. But,
well, I mean, those did end up in elementary school lockers more often than not.
Exactly, they absolutely did because hey, boobies are boobies. We didn't care. You know, we're open for all takers, man. You know, when you're kids, you know, when you're a kid, fortunately, you just have such a much rosier view of the world back then. You're just like, well, titties were titties. It was just like whatever. I held no prejudice against any kind. I was like, bring them all on. You know.
Well, Michael, this is an interesting philosophical thing because one thing that I think we kind of cherish about the world of home video as it was is the challenge of having to go to a video store, having to rent it, having only a couple of days to watch it, having to bring it back, having late fees. All of that kind of added value to each individual title in a weird kind of way because it was harder to get. Porn or boobs,
by God, we had to work for it.
We had to work for it. This is the same thing. It's like now you could see a boob at any second of any day. If you're 8 years old or if you're 90 years old, it's ubiquitous. It's everywhere, and it's just not special anymore.
No, porn these days is ridiculous. I mean, now it's just like, you know, you think of it. You just think it was like, well, today I'd like to watch Brazilian fart porn that was only shot on a Wednesday with only two one-legged people, and they all have to be shaved bald and wearing glasses, and all have to be holding in one hand a collection of the collective works of Gerald Kirsch, and in the other hand they have to be holding a two-sided, black dildo that actually ejaculates fake cum. Oh, there's 8 sites for that. You know, I mean,
and a whole bulletin board around that, a 4chan channel.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like it's so easy. It's almost embarrassing. But back then, it was just like when you wanted to rent anything R-rated or anything that had any hint of being too adult, there were so many hoops you had to jump through. And back then, the porn tapes, if you couldn't get, as a kid, I couldn't rent porn, but you could rent those softcore bullshit things where the cover promised girls that never showed up in the movies because they were all repackaged softcore flicks from the 70s from Sweden. And it was just like, you get home and go, oh my God, there's more bush here than there is in my hedges out front. I mean, it's just like, it's wow, but well, this will do. It's just like, but oh God. And the problem with VHS, as I see it now, is that people mistake nostalgia for the time in which we went through for quality. Mm-hmm. Because look, I love VHS, and I had more VHS than anybody else in my city. And thank God for VHS, because it's how I got to see all those movies back then, and how much cinema I was introduced to that I never would have had the opportunity if it hadn't been for that format. But that format was a pain in the ass. Oh, it was such a pain in the ass. I mean, the tapes broke. They would get crinkled up. They would, get distorted all the time. The video quality was atrocious. And even though we didn't have much to compare it to back then, even then I was like, oh, God, this looks like crap. You couldn't make out half the stuff that was going on all the time. There were hardly any letterbox or widescreen presentations back then. I mean, it was a fucking awful format that died the death it deserved. But thank God for it.
Well, I mean, it's true.
Do you keep any at your house?
There we go.
It's just, it was what we had to work with. So
I don't know if you heard you had it.
I will always have. What did she say?
Oh, I was asking, do you have much VHS at your house, or did you sell it off to the kids?
Oh, little by little, it's been kind of just traded off and sold off. I sold a whole lot of it back, 15, 16 years ago. Actually, a lot of it I sold off before I moved to Michigan. But I still have about 10 tapes that I'll probably never get rid of because they have sentimental reasons. But it was funny. I was just working on... I'm trying to remember. I think I have a Night of the Living Dead that my dad bought me. It was like the first tape I ever got was a Night of the Living Dead. And then I have a Nightmare on Elm Street 4, which I won in a contest. The local TV station was playing. I have my original copy of Dawn of the Dead. There's a couple others I think I have, but I'd have to pull out the box to look at them. They're buried deep in my garage like the Lost Ark. But there's a few I still keep, and then every now I still have my VCR because I have to transfer old trailers and old behind-the-scenes footage from VHS, and whenever I get some of these, in fact, some stuff's on my way to me right now that's on VHS that I have to transfer. So that's always fun, and it was interesting. I had to transfer a couple things
there on Thursday.
Oh, okay. But I got some stuff. I transferred the VHS for The Gate over for reasons that I won't go into. And I was watching it, and I was like, wow, this is the first time I've watched the old Vestron VHS of The Gate in a long time. Man, this looks like shit. I mean, wow, how did I ever enjoy this movie back then? It's like, it's so I'm nostalgic for the experiences and the movies I got to see and the interactivity of the video stores and all those associated memories. But I don't have any rose-colored glasses when it comes to the actual technical quality of the format.
I think I would, if I were going to counter that at all, because you're absolutely 100% correct, especially when people try to compare VHS nostalgia to vinyl nostalgia for music, because it's not really comparable.
Right, that's different.
Yeah, vinyl sounds better. Yeah, VHS does not look better.
But
there are some movies, I think, that because either they were meant to be kind of crappy to begin with, or they were meant to look grainy, or they were meant to look dirty, that VHS kind of lends itself to their enjoyment a little more. A lot of those, those video nasty movies from the 80s were not, a lot of them were not very good, but sometimes they still felt kind of transgressive just because VHS made them look dirty, and when those get transferred to Blu-ray or DVD, it doesn't quite work. But most movies, for sure.
I hear what you're saying on that, and I kind of felt that a little bit when I was working on The Mutilator a couple years ago, and we got to see the new transfer. I was like, wow, this really looks like a pretty well-shot movie and everything. That kind of takes some of the fun out of it. It's just like, I'm so used to seeing that old crappy, for me it was just like, so it wasn't that these guys didn't know what they were doing. It was just that the old video transfer back then just really made it look like they didn't know what they were doing. But in a weird way, to add some kind of a quality. I understand that, because there are certain movies where VHS didn't really... VHS covered up a lot of sins, so it was just kind of like, you could kind of just ride along with it, but then sometimes you see the new HD transfers of these old slashers, and you're like, oh my God, that wasn't a good makeup effect at all.
I was going to say that a lot of special effects people talk about that and the moving away from film, that when they see it digital, it just burns their eyes like a Nazi opening the Ark.
Yeah, it's just like when you see some of these old slasher movies and go, oh man, that wasn't even. Okay, I can totally see where the seams are in that makeup now, and I can totally see that the tubes pumping the blood in now. It's like, well, that was because it was so dark and grainy and crappy before. You couldn't see hardly anything. So there is something of a mixed bag there, but by and large,
I like
my fondness for VHS has little or nothing to do with the quality of the actual format itself.
Yeah, that certainly doesn't apply to like Black Narcissus or something.
No, but no, and it's just and then they yell, "Oh, be kind, rewind." Fuck you. I mean, I don't want to rewind a goddamn that pissed me off a lot. And I used to work in a video store for a little. I worked at a video distributor for a while, and man, I became such an expert at VHS triage because you have to pop these things open and re-splice them, and you're just like, "Oh God, breathe life, live again, live." It was cannibalizing parts from other tapes you didn't give a shit about so you could get this one to work. It was, oh man, I could probably assemble the inside of a VHS tape blindfolded because I did it so often. But
they teach you that in the military.
With a timer.
Yeah. With a timer, it's just like, you will assemble this now. This is my VHS tape. There are others like it, but this one is mine. It was an interesting time. It was but I think what I miss, and I think what most people really miss, was you had to go to the store. All the movies were there. You would talk to the people that worked at the store. Some of the people who would hang out there. You would commiserate. I mean, there's a form of that on the internet, but it's not the same. Mm-mm. And I do miss that. I do miss the social interaction aspect of home video from back then, which you just don't have anymore. I mean, what do you get now? Someone standing at a Redbox terminal for 5 minutes? I mean, that's not...
And they all pretend that the others don't exist. No one talks at the Redbox terminal.
No. And everyone looks around like, is anybody watching me do this? Like, I don't want to know actually rent shit from Redbox. This is fucked up. Everyone has that. They might as well be wearing like a trench coat and sunglasses. Like, I don't want anyone to see that I'm renting Baby Geniuses 2 from fucking Redbox.
Well, I mean,
but
to relate this to back then, I mean, it's like the guys who would walk in and then pull back the shower curtain to go into the porn section at the back of the video store.
Oh, I know. It was, and I can't tell you. I mean, the video store I worked at 2 branches of the same local mom and pop store. And I'll tell you what that experience did is it did 3 things. 1, it made me never want to work with the public again. And number 2, it totally dissuaded me from the myth of I miss the mom and pop stores instead of the Blockbusters. The people who ran the mom and pop stores sometimes were complete dickheads who didn't know what the hell they were doing any more than anybody else. And 3, it was always amazing to watch the completely non-subtle actions of the guys who were in the store for porn, who thought that they were trying, it's like, they would be like, well, gee, I wonder what that guy's doing hanging out the back of the store, just kind of furtively glancing over at the adult section he has to walk through the beaded curtain for. I mean, it's just like, I appreciated the guys who would walk. Every now and then there were a couple of guys who would walk in and go, where's your adult titty titles? And they're right back there. Thank you. And just go straight to them. And I'm like, you know what? I appreciate that. He's not bullshitting. He's not trying to pretend that he's interested in something else where it's just like, oh, I'm here for Snatch. And that was it. It was like he just goes in the back. And it's like, all right. But then I would be like, I never once cleaned up the adult room in that store. I never once did. I said, I'm not going in there. Because there have been guys who have gone in there for way too long and have come out and didn't want to rent anything, strangely enough. And I was like, ugh, okay.
Wow.
So that was just like, I'm done. But it was, God, video store life. So yeah, I didn't enjoy working there too much. The video distributor job I enjoyed because I didn't have to deal with the public. But except I did tell this story. This just goes to show you how video store owners, they weren't, I mean, some were great, but some were just the dumbest. I had to do sales calls a couple times, which I hated to do because you would just take orders. And I was living in Charlotte, North Carolina at the time. And I told the story a couple weeks ago, but it bears repeating. Let's just say some of those store owners in those areas weren't some of the sharpest tacks in the drawer. Let me see if you can guess what movie they're talking about. Hey, hello? Yeah, hi. Yeah, I need to order some tapes for the store, a couple movies I got to order. Sure, sir. What would you like to order? And then they would go through 2 or 3 titles and be like, okay. Oh, and yeah, I need that there Jiffy K. I'm sorry, sir. Yeah, Jiffy K. I need the Jiffy K.
Jiffy.
I'm like, I don't, and I'm like, what title? What, Jiffy K? What are you talking? Yeah, Jiffy K. JFK. And I had to put my headset down and just kind of walk away. I can't even with these people. I was like, what is this? And then the other one was a few years later. I get a call going, yeah, no, I want to get, I got a broken tape here. I got to get a replacement. Sure, what movie is it, sir? Yeah, the Rickshaw Convention. I'm sorry, sir? Yeah, the Rickshaw Convention. What? I don't know what movie that is, sir. Oh, yeah, Rickshaw Convention. You know, the one where the feller escapes from prison at the end? Do you mean the Shawshank Redemption, sir? Yeah, that one. That's the one. I'm like, okay, I just got a mental picture in my head of Morgan Freeman in a straw hat pulling Tim Robbins in a rickshaw down the streets of India. I'm like, I'm out. I'm done. So it's just like, yeah, those were the VHS days as I remember them, having to deal with local video store owners in the North Carolina area, which God bless them, but some of them, boo-hoo.
Well, I mean, now you're in the cultural center that is Michigan, so you're safe.
Hey, I'll take that any day over where I was. I mean, look, nothing against Charlotte, but it was. Let's just say there wasn't much of a future for me in that town back then. And once the video distributor shut down, I was only there a couple more years after that. That was the one job I had I really liked because you talk about being in the nerve center of VHS, man, that's all there was there. It was just every VHS tape from every distributor, every label that was in print. And there was just racks of them and racks of and racks of them. We'd, ship them all out every Thursday, the week's releases. And God help you if it was a Disney title coming out that week because they would ship them in these big oversized packs with all these display units. And, oh, God, we hated it. These blue boxes, they were blue boxes. Whenever you saw blue boxes piling up, you're like, oh, it's a fucking Disney title. God damn it, I want to kill myself. And it's just like, So yeah, no, I have a lot of VHS memories. A lot of my life is tied up with that format, despite the fact that, again, it was very much a love-hate relationship.
I like it.
Go ahead.
Sold.
Oh man. Well, what do you think, Heather?
Have I talked?
What's that?
I probably talked on too much. I go off on these tangents and I
keep going.
We can keep going. We've got no one else in the queue right now. I just wanted to see how we feel about our show at this point.
I think we should at least go to midnight here, Eastern Standard Time.
It's only 11. I mean, you got 20 more minutes. I think you guys should probably.
Mike has 20 more minutes of VHS stories.
Oh, you have some more for us, Michael?
Got it. Oh, I don't know.
Think about what Mike does for a living. I assume so much. Like, were you scared of them? Because we're approximately the same age, so that means we were going to the video store at the same time. Were you scared of, like, the certain covers that you didn't want to rent, or were you totally brave when you were younger?
I was pretty stupid back then, so I didn't really, the only ones I was a little wary of are the ones where they had like the warning box at the bottom that said, warning, if you watch this, you will not recover from it. And, it was not so much the big scary visuals on the cover, but that little warning plain text box that they would put like something at the like the bottom of Faces of Death or something. Right. And then you'll be like, because it's just like, oh, that seems official. There's something's up here. They're not even trying to scare me. They're just laying out the facts. This thing is going to warp your mind.
Yeah, I think Make Them Die Slowly had a similar warning cover as well.
Yeah, I think that. Yeah, I think that did too.
It's funny because that goes back to Hammer Day. The old Hammer horror movie posters for the theatrical releases would say things like, rated X, too extreme for the public.
Right.
So that marketing.
Yeah, it's like you don't watch this, you'll fucking die. I appreciated the directness of some of those, but those were the only tapes that I think that I was ever.
What about the Faces of Death stuff? Because you've worked on those titles, but it's different.
Well, it was funny. I only rented the first Faces of Death, and I just remember being really put off by it because I just thought it was really slow and stupid and it wasn't quite what I thought it was going to be. I think most people kind of had that reaction. Like, I thought this was going to be like nonstop death and torture, and they're trying to have a story. And, it's just like a lot of this stuff just seemed kind of like, oh, that's fake. And then some didn't seem like it was. But, the movie that I rented that I remember being the most disturbed by, and the one I never wanted to watch again, was Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer. For me, that movie, especially the home invasion scene, really unnerved the shit out of me. Because, and I think the reason was like this. It's an extremely effective film. I think that when I watched that tape, I remember I rented it, and after it was over, it's just like, I'll never want to watch that again, and I never have, because I think the reason that got to me is like, it was the randomness of what those guys would do in that movie. It's just like, what, people do this exact shit. And this movie has actually happened. Maybe not with these characters in that situation, but shit like this has actually happened. And the way McNaughton filmed that made it feel like you were just kind of along for the ride, unwillingly, but you were kind of along for the ride. And that really got on. So that's one of the few tapes I remember renting where I was going, oh God, I'm really kind of sorry I did that to myself. Even though I admire the craft of that movie immensely. But yeah, most of the only ones I ever got burned by were the ones where I felt the cover lied so thoroughly about what the movie actually was that it was just like, okay, look, guys, I understand you got to pump your movie up to some degree, but there's creatures and shit on the cover that aren't even close to being in this. The cover looks a hell of a lot more impressive than any of it looks like you spent more on the cover than you did the movie. Mm-hmm. So if you got to go that far out to lie to me, that was the one thing, is that some of those VHSs would lie. Oh my God, they would lie. They would just make it look so much more impressive than it really was. But that's okay. I mean, that still goes on with DVD, but it seemed really, because even back in the VHS days, there would be a lot of these gorgeous, like hand painted, almost like, like rock and roll album covers for video. And you'd be like, wow, this thing is awesome. And you put it in, it's like, oh, did the artist even see the movie? Because I don't think he did.
Well, a lot of those covers,
he wouldn't have gotten.
The posters were painted before the script was even written in a lot of those titles.
Oh yeah. I mean, God, Charlie Band did that all the time. He would just be like, all right, give me a movie with some weird shit coming out of a television. All right, great. Go make a movie about that. I was like, oh, Corman would do that. I mean, those guys were great at just being like, give me some weird shit that looks cool in a video box, and then we'll design a movie around it, kind of, sort of. It's like, all right.
That sounds like old canon.
Yeah, it's the whole canon.
I appreciate that.
There, I mean, Deathstalker, if you remember that movie cover, had...
Oh, sure.
It's like Frank Frazetta art with huge monsters and the
it's gorgeous.
Muscle-bound.
Big fucking axe and all that stuff, yeah. I mean, it was just... and the movie is just like, oh, come on. It's really... so, I mean, in a weird way, I can appreciate some of those movies more now because I don't feel like I'm being sold a bill of goods anymore. I can kind of just go back and watch them and go, oh, that was an okay movie. That was fun, instead of being like I felt like I was lied to by the video cover. Mm-hmm. But it was the same way with a lot of the porn movies, too. They would gussy these old shitty 80s and 70s porns up in these brand new covers with these hot chicks who were never going to be in the movie. And you'd be like, hey, where's the chick from the cover? I really wanted to see her naked. And she's not in this at all. In fact, I think she wasn't even born when this movie was made.
Well,
so it's like, oh man, I'm double fucked on this, but whatever.
It was their only way to get your attention when you're walking into the store. You had no other information but that cover. So they put all of
that's the thing. Back then, the video covers, I think, probably were the way they were to a large degree, and certainly with the earlier years of DVD, because they knew that, their cover is going to be one of hundreds lined up on a shelf. They got to draw attention to their shit somehow. Mm-hmm. So today, I don't think the companies even care about that, because they're figuring no one's really looking. I mean, if people want to go buy, Captain America Civil War, we could just put that in a brown paper bag and just write it on marker on the front and people will buy it. No one's walking into a store anymore and discovering shit like that. So there's probably a little less emphasis on trying to make their covers really stand out anymore. because it's the video business has changed so much. I mean, it's almost hard to tell people, who have never grown up. There's people out there now who've never seen a VHS, wouldn't know one if it hit them in the face. And it's hard to explain to people what the video. And again, then it starts sounding like I'm the old guy on the lawn. You had VHS. Kids don't appreciate shit.
Old man,
and I hate that. I hate.
Well, they don't understand going to the VHS Sage and to get information from them, and the type of movies that they would have if you were a certain sort of person that would actually transform who you were. When they could match a movie with your personality and what you're into, especially you fringe counterculture nerd. It was like the record shops. You went there for suggestions. You went there to talk about stuff, just to be inspired.
Yeah, it was the watering. It was the watering hole. It was the place where like-minded individuals could gravitate. And I mean, I made a lot of my friends, back then through those avenues because there was no other place to find them. We just kind of would not, bump into each other and be like, oh, you're into this sort of thing too? Yeah. Are you? Yeah. And it'd be like, we're just kind of sussing each other out. Like, I was like, are you trying to trick me? Are you trying to trick me? And then, meanwhile, it's like, what are you holding there? It's my copy of Bad Taste. What about you? Well, this is my copy of The Dead Pit, whose eyes light up. Oh, yeah? That's cool, I mean, it's... and then it's like the VHS. I remember the VHS of Bad Taste. They had to put this extra finger on there.
Yeah, because of the middle finger.
They had.
So it
looked like you in the peace sign, but it's
2 fingers. Yeah.
Yeah, so so it's the flip off, or they look like he's giving you the peace sign, which is even more ridiculous. It's just like, I just think it's so funny that all the weird. They would do all these custom covers and stuff, and you were talking about like the "Want a Date," for Frankenhooker, and I always hated that because I would buy a lot of my tapes used, and I would always make sure to go to certain stores where the tapes wouldn't get banged the hell up, so you could buy really nice, high quality ones. I never found a good copy of Frankenhooker everywhere because those things were always pushed in and banged up all over the place. Because, people kept going, oh, what a day, and they'd bang the shit out of those boxes. So I never found a good used copy of Frankenhooker to save my life, but...
Well, we have someone in the queue. They've been waiting a couple of minutes.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah, Michael. Wow, what an awesome conversation.
And what an honor for Michael Fulcher to call in.
For sure. Thanks so much.
Guys, hey, listen, it was fun, and I look forward to hearing your show in the future. Good luck with it.
Thank you, sir.
You're very welcome, and I'm just going to hang up now before my phone shuts off because it doesn't realize that I'm still talking. Because sometimes my phone will just shut off because it's so tired of me talking.
He is so funny.
I think I can't recognize this area code. Let's see who it is. Hello.
Hey, hello. How you doing?
Oh, we have a human being. Sweet.
Are you sure he's human? Are you human?
I think so, man. Listen to this voice.
Oh, yes. Human? Well, it could have been a werewolf or a Yeti. I don't want to be someone who doesn't know.
Cool. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I saw the notification. Friends with you on Facebook, Heather. Heather McLaughlin.
Yes. Hi. Yeah, I posted in the the VHS world. So, where are you? Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from New Braunfels, Texas. It's in between San Antonio and Austin.
Very cool. So, favorite VHS memories, favorite VHS tapes. Go for it. The whole floor is yours.
Man. Almost all of it's illegal, though. That's my problem. I need to know about statute of limitations and stuff.
I think we've all discussed that when we were 14, we taped things off HBO. I think I'm talking about like theft and stuff like that. Man, I don't know. I was fortunate when I was younger because we got our first little video store here, and my uncle worked there. So I don't even remember how old I was, maybe like 4 or 5. And, he gets to bring home everything with the top loaders, So I'm just sitting on a couch watching like Friday the 13th and all kinds of crazy shit, So
I guess I had kind of a really cool childhood in that respect. I remember him bringing home Dune, and I don't know if y'all had it up there, but it came with like a fucking encyclopedia or something, you know? Like when people rented it, it came with like a little book. Did y'all have that?
I did not have that.
No, neither did I.
That sounds so beautiful.
Yeah, like I remember like I was hanging around the shop, and like whenever somebody rented it, like you had to put a little book on the inside because, you know, the terms and all that stuff, you know. People were getting confused, I guess. But remember stuff like that.
Did the book help with people who were confused?
I mean, I'm assuming because, you know, like for instance, like, well, what is spice? You know, and I guess they'd flip to page 10 and figure it the fuck out. But you know, but yeah, I remember that. I just thought I watched it, and I guess being that young, I mean, I didn't really have to understand it. It's just, look, a guy blew up and he exploded. A worm ate somebody, you know. It wasn't really like rocket science to me, but I just thought it was funny that they had to give that out. But anyways, no, I mean, so I grew up watching VHS, and, you know, like a little kid, I mean, like I said, my uncle working at the shop, I mean, he'd literally come with like bags every day, you know. So me and my cousins would just get there to sit to watch everything. But as far as like VHS stories, like I said, a lot of them are like probably kind of bad in a weird way. Some of the pawn shops down here used to sell VHS, you know. Mm-hmm. And when I was a teenager, my favorite hobby was like shoplifting, you know, thanks to Morrissey. But anyways, so I remember
that sounds like you're a young punk rocker, my friend.
Yeah, plus that's a great
yeah. Well, I was waiting for all the other shoplifters to unite, but we just never did. We just went home with our loot. But anyways, I remember going to like some pawn shop, and like stealing a copy of La Femme Nikita because I actually already liked that movie. And when I got home, there was Combat Shock instead, you know? And I don't know. If y'all,
like
I'm sure y'all both seen it. Yeah. But you got to remember, I'm like 13 and 14. I'm not ready for that, you know, at the time. But, yeah, just no, but anyways, and then, there was a lot of crazy, like, VHS places around here at the time. Like, we had a local one that had like 2 shops in my town, and they would do some crazy thing where it's like on Thursday you rent one, get like 3 free or something, you know?
Yeah.
So you'd see like massive amounts of like families in there, like 2 for dad and 1 for mom and 3 for the kids, that kind of shit. And there was actually a place in San Antonio when I was younger because my grandparents lived there, and I remember they had some crazy promotion where it was like, you rent movies for like 50 cents and you get like free pizza or some shit, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it was...
That was pretty cool.
I think a lot of that was even desperation, just trying to stay afloat.
Yeah. Well, with pizza, I'm sure you can give away all kinds of shit. But yeah, I remember the promotions for that kind of stuff was just kind of crazy. I'm trying to remember another... Okay, there was a video store in Austin. I had a girlfriend that was like living in the area going to school, and I remember a guy I was in a band with, he ended up like jacking somebody's ID. So we went to the video store, and like I don't know how the guy just did not know this, but he ended up like renting like 70 movies, like me and like 5 guys just grabbing like armfuls of like movies and shit. Of course, I had to grab the Necromantic, and yeah, gave them like $20, and they never saw those again, you know. So yeah, like I said, stuff like that, man. There's just a lot of crazy stories about usually just stealing, you know.
Being a kid around all that candy.
Any of the covers really scare you as a kid?
Did what now?
Any of the covers like really scare you as a kid? Like when you went to the VHS store or looked I assume not at pawn shops, because I've never found like traces of death or Mondo Cane at a shop.
Well, you know what's funny? You say that. Like, I mean, like most of them. I mean, yeah, we'd see like Slaughterhouse Rock and stuff like that. And yeah, man. I mean, of course, I wanted to get that. That was creepy as fuck. And then Tony Basil's like dancing and singing in it. I'm like, shit. Like, it wasn't that scary. But as far as like, I don't know about y'all, but down here, a lot of the places that had like Faces of Death and stuff like that, they just do that in the porn section. You know? So I couldn't. Here's another funny story because it's in Texas, but like the place that we had the little adult section, it had fucking swinging doors. So, so literally, like, me and my brothers are walking around looking at cartoons, and then these fucking guys come out like cowboys and shit, but they're really just looking at like dirty movies, Like, that's what we had over here, and like I said, in the back, that's where they had the Faces of Death and stuff. And on a side note, like, when I turned 18, I'd heard about all the stuff. See, that's the other cool thing about VHS. Like, when we were younger, like, we just had to go by word of mouth. You know what I mean? Like, right. I mean, aside from the cover being amazing, we had to go like on what somebody said. So I distinctly remember being like in third or fourth grade, and a friend of mine's like, "Have you ever seen Evil Dead 2?" I'm like, "No." A man gets his hand cut off, and then a girl's dancing around like dead with their boobies hanging out. And I'm like, "What?" Like, he's like, "Yeah." And then his hand tries to choke him. I'm like, "What the fuck is this guy talking about?" And so of course I had to see it. But of course the same thing, like kids were talking about Faces of Death. One of their like older brothers that let them watch it or something. So of course I was intrigued, but I couldn't go into that porno saloon, with the double doors, until I was like 18. And so finally, like when I was like 16 or 17, I ended up asking my uncle if he could just go get it for me. And I remember like he rented a couple of them, I think like one to three, and went back and watched it while eating fried chicken. Yeah, like how much more Texas can this story get? But but anyways, like so we watched it, and then I remember like I was like, oh, okay, well, it was gross, but it didn't really scare the shit out of me or anything. On another side note, when the place closed down, I ended up getting the poster from the little dirty room, so that's another cool thing is like I have that now,
Right.
But anyways, like, yeah, man, I mean, the whole VHS thing, I mean, I think one of the things I miss the most actually is like annoying the shit out of my girlfriends, because when I was in high school, you would walk around the video store because you have to get something to watch on Friday night, and I'm not even joking. I would spend like an hour like pacing back and forth, because it sounds funny now, but at the time it's like, no, this is serious. This better be fucking good. This is our Friday night. You know what I mean? Like, so like,
and you only
I'd end up with like two. Yeah, because you might have $10 like allowance money, and they're like $2.99 and shit like that. But yeah, I mean, I kind of miss that whole thing. Is just you had to take a big shot on like what was going to entertain you that night. Now, if something's on Netflix, it sucks. Change it. Whatever. You know what I mean?
That kind of.
So you feel more committed when you're paying $3 for something with a limited time span of watching it.
Yeah, definitely. But I mean, I think it's cool that it's got this whole resurgence now. You know what I mean? Like, all these people are like collecting it, and man, I feel these people getting these amazing promo shit that I used to see in the video stores, and you know what I mean? And that's amazing.
For $1 billion.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Dun, dun.
But yeah, I mean, I still collect. Like, I need to actually cut down because it gets ridiculous. I think I buy like 10 tapes a month or something, and they're not cheap usually. So,
no, it's
and they take up I was going to say they take up a lot of space.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know that that Trump wall he keeps talking about. I think I have that in my closet right now. But yeah, it's ridiculous. Like it's about as tall, like about 5 people. It's like about to fall down, actually.
He gave me shit because I loved 80s horror films, and he was like more of a Universal Cycle guy. But now he's obsessed with buying VHS and 80s VHS. And I said, I allow it. I allow everyone that you buy, even though your whole house will only be VHS at some point. Keep doing it. We support your addiction here.
Well, you know, and then of course, like, it's the aspect of, like, I mean, there's a lot of shit that I still can't, like, for instance, I mean, I'm looking across the room right now, I've got fucking Bunnicula on VHS. I don't know if y'all familiar with that.
Oh, yes, the Vampire Bunny. We all are.
Yeah. Okay, well, here's the thing, like, you can't get it on fucking DVD, it's not on fucking YouTube, it's not on, you know, Netflix, you know what I mean? Like, if I want to watch it, that's the only way I can watch it, you know? Like, pretty much the only way I can watch it is on VHS.
For a lot of us, those are the ones we really look for now, is this is it. This is your only way.
Yeah, definitely. But then again, I say that, but then something like Miami Connection, I think I've got it like on 15 different formats, and I ended up buying like the VHS too, just because, you know, I mean, you got to own that on VHS, you know? Miami Connection, I mean, I don't know if I said that. But anyways, yeah, like I said, I think it's really cool that everybody's like starting to collect again. But
what do you think about the price point of VHS collecting?
Well, see, the only thing I don't like about, I mean, I love how everybody's into it. I really just don't like the snobbery that comes with it. You know what I mean? Like, you got one guy that's like, this is a $60 tape, you know, and another guy sells it for $20, and everybody's arguing in between. And to me, it's like, I don't know, man. I mean, I understand some stuff is rare, but sometimes people got to realize, like, it doesn't mean everybody wants it. You know what I mean? You know? I mean,
making that point before with rare merch. That's incredibly rare, but incredibly worthless.
Well, like for instance, I mean, I might have like a million friends disown me, but I mean, I just got rid of a tape recently. It was that movie Pieces, right?
Right.
Okay, like I missed it when I was younger. I found a copy at a thrift store for like 10 cents. You know what I mean? I watched it and I'm like, now why is everybody freaking out about this movie again? You know, like it just wasn't really the best thing I'd seen in a long time. So a guy wanted to give me 20 for it. So I was like, well, take it. You know what I mean? But, and I think there's a lot of people that hold on to them just because, like, it's worth so much, you know, which I think is kind of funny because, I mean, what's the point if you're not going to watch it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But, yeah, but the whole price thing, it is crazy. I mean, how stuff is like, but then again, I mean, like I said, I talked this trash, but then I think the last one I bought was I think it was a live performance of Karen Black on VHS, okay? And I had to cough up the 25. Where am I going to get that? You know what I mean? Again, you know, I'm not going to find it anywhere. Like, well, at least I haven't seen it in a while.
That's true. You're the first guy that brought up buying the old VHS of videos, rock performances. It's the only place there exists.
Well, yeah. I mean, a lot of the stuff, like Lydia Lunch and the Karen Black and stuff like that. I mean, once again, like I said, it's just, you know, you're probably just going to have to get it on that format. You know, I mean, there's really not very much options after that. You know, I don't know. As far as, like, I mean, back to like the whole VHS stories, I think, real quick before I have to leave, I think the funniest VHS story is I was at a VHS store in Austin, and I remember, like, we were walking around, like, looking at stuff with the girl I was dating, and I remember there was a dude always sitting there, and he kind of reminded me of, like, comic book guy from, like, The Simpsons, you know, with like a ponytail, you know what I mean? And I remember, like, I walked in and I was, like, looking around, and I went up and asked him, like, hey, man, do you got any Mystery Science Theater? and he just like put down his soda cup and like pointed his finger in the air and like took a swallow. And then he proceeded to tell me like, which kind? I'm like, just anything, man, the show, I mean, whatever. And then he starts to tell me this whole long spiel about how he like got all these crazy, he got like almost every episode, and how he got some crazy tape that he got from a friend that was taped off like the Japanese special or something weird that wasn't aired over here, and blah, blah, blah. He gives me this whole spiel. And then finally at the end of it, he's like, but that's my personal collection. And I'm like, dude, why are you like giving me this whole spiel? And you're just like, you know, and then so like he starts yelling at the girl that's working with him about tacos or something. And then finally when she leaves, he's like, I tell you what, we have all your information here. I will let you borrow my videos, but you have to bring them back when I come back in on Thursday. Mind you, this is like, I think like a Monday or something. And we're just like, okay, you know, like, just give us the tapes. This guy just happened to have them there, gave us like these 2 bags of his precious Mystery Science Theater tapes. And to make a long story short, like, I think we sat there and watched like every episode ever made, like in 2 days. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we didn't leave the couch. I don't think we even went outside. I think we took a bath once in a while. But anyways, we watched like every episode so we can give it back to this guy. And I remember the last episode, they ended up dying or something weird. And then we were just really fucking bummed when we took them back to him, you know? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
You're like, did you like it? Yeah, just take your fucking movies back. Jesus fucking Christ. You know, like, the crew's dead. There's no more Mystery Science Theater. What do you want out of me? You know?
Well, we have 2 in the queue. I hate to put an end to things.
Yeah.
Well, I think
no. I got to
end on with this caller. And great speaking to you. So awesome.
Yeah.
On phone.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll go back to listening when I get done with it. Yeah, awesome, y'all. Y'all have a good night.
You too. Oh, this poor caller. There we go. Hello.
Hi, caller.
Hello?
You rock.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
We can, yes.
Howdy. This is Mike Lombardo. How you doing?
Hi, Mike.
Mike
so cool that you called. Mike is an awesome special effects artist.
So great to have you.
How are you, Heather?
I am. I'm doing good. I'm living the dream of having a call-in show.
Yeah, this is pretty cool. This reminds me of being a kid and not being able to call in because I get yelled at by my parents. But this is pretty cool.
We're not going to tell your parents.
That's good. That's good. They don't want to know what I'm up to.
It's between us. It's between us.
That's good. That's real good. That's the listeners. So I was listening to the last fella and Michael talking, and it really hit me. When I grew up, you know, obviously watching VHS tapes too, and you know what Michael was saying about the video art. That's why I know half the movies that I know. I would just go to the video store and just hours I'd spend just like the last guy. I mean, I was in there for 2-3 hours at a clip, just staring at all the tapes, and it's like I can only rent one per week, so I've got to really make sure it's a fucking good one. And the holy grail was the big box of Headless Eyes, and I'm like, one day I'm going to rent it. And that day came, and let me tell you, that was the worst fucking movie I have ever seen in my life. I was so upset. It was so... I just bought it on DVD and made my girlfriend watch it. So I hadn't seen it in probably 25 years. And she's like, that's garbage. Why would you buy this? And I said, I don't know. I don't know why I rented it the first time either, but I'm a glutton for punishment. It did not get any better. It did not age any better than I thought it would have.
But I think it's a good pastime with film is that you go, this is horrible. You have to watch it with me.
Oh, yeah.
I forced her. The show was like, why am I still watching this? And I'm like, don't worry. I was like, look at the box. Every time you get pissed off, look at the box. Still the best VHS artwork of all time.
We would call that the gauntlet. We would call that the gauntlet. Yeah. It's like being in war together. We've been in the trenches, you and me, and nobody knows this pain like us.
I tell them nothing's as bad as Juno. That's my watermark.
Well, that's rough. Gourmet Zombie Butcher Chef from Hell might actually be worse than Headless Eyes, I have to say. Speaking of awesome covers with horrid movies attached to them. But, video was like the Wild West, because video stores just wanted product, so anyone could get a movie released. So it's like, you never know. It's like, I used to call it movie roulette, because you never know what you're going to get. Some of the stuff was like awesome, and then, like you get your bad tastes, or, the Dead Pit with the blinking eyes. That was another holy grail at the video store I finally rented, and that one ended up being okay. Return of the Aliens, The Deadly Spawn, the big box of that was always another beacon, and that one still holds up. It's still a great movie. So it was a weird time. I'll tell you too. You ever see the copy of Bleeders that had the pouch for the blood on the front of it and you could squish around?
I have that in my living room.
Yeah, I have it. I got it signed by Adrian Moreau when I was at my first convention. I was a kid, and I saw he was there. I didn't know what he was there for. And I had Bleeders, and he's like, "Where the hell did you get this?" And I was like, "Isn't it cool?" He's like, "I mean, the movie's not, but it's cool."
But that
was a ringing endorsement by the effects artist that made the monsters. But the other thing, I can't remember if it was Michael or the last fella said about word of mouth with the videos, and a lot of people I talk to, they don't understand what the pre-internet days were like, because that's what it was. You go to school and people would talk about Faces of Death or, Evil Dead 2 or any of the random weirdo movies, and it's like you would build up this ridiculous expectation that, would never be matched by whatever the movie was going to be, but you'd see the cover and then you'd hear these stories and it's like, holy shit, the mutilator, or what's going to happen, and you just would come up with like, I say this as I bought the fucking Arrow Blu-ray for like $40. I'm ready to be disappointed all over again. But yeah, when I was a kid, my favorite VHS story was when I was a kid, the local video store, they had the Hellraiser 1 and 2 2-pack VHS. And I had no fucking idea what it was. I just saw the cover with Pinhead, and I said, that is the coolest thing I'd ever seen in my life. I was like 10. So I saved up my allowance, and I bought it. And my parents had no clue what the movie was. Our VCR got broken because I was trying to watch Halloween 4 the night before, and it ate the tape, and it jacked the VCR up. So it was off for repairs. So I couldn't watch the movie for like a month. So I would carry the tape around with me like a toy, and I would just fantasize about what it was going to be based on the pictures of skinned bodies on the back and the wondering what horrifying events the Cotton family would be propelled into according to the ad copy. And when I finally got to watch the movie, my mom walks in just as Frank and Julia bang for the first time, and she just like leapt across the room and hit the stop button and took it from me. So I didn't get to watch it for like 2 years, and it drove me crazy, and I was like, I need to see this movie. Like, what happens with the guy with the pins in his head? What the hell's his deal?
It's always at that perfect moment that happens, isn't it?
Oh, my God, always. I swear to Christ, she has a sixth sense for that when I was a kid. That was the only thing my parents wouldn't let me watch was nudity. Mm-hmm. All the dismemberment and skinnings, that's fine, but God forbid I should see a naked woman. So she walks in Phantasm 2 with Reggie and the Hitchhiker. She walked in during that. She walked in during the scene in the raft where the guy's, the chick is topless and he's licking her. And like all these great movies I couldn't watch until I snuck out to a friend's house to see them because she would just rip them out of the VCR. It's like, I can't believe you're watching this filth. It was beautiful, beautiful filth. Wonderful times with VHS.
Yeah, I mean
the collectors. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say that just your story just seems to be such a familiar one, particularly here in the States, where nudity is the ultimate sin that a movie can commit.
Oh, absolutely.
That's why
it's so bizarre.
I was going to say that I watched the most vile stuff ever. But trying to watch something like The Bad Lieutenant when I was a young girl and sneaking it upstairs and my father screaming as Jersey City parents do, it's like, you bring that down now. And I was at the scene where like they're doing the mock blowjob in the car, and it wasn't years and years and years until I finally got to see it. And it was worth it because when I saw it, it was at Anthology Film Archive, and Abel Ferrar was there. So I finally got to see it.
That's cool. Out
of the shame of my father's eyes of sneaking these movies upstairs to try to watch them. So yeah, there's none of that taboo anymore because you can do whatever you want on your laptop. You watch whatever Netflix on your laptop. You don't have to smuggle in crazy movies like you're in prison.
Yeah, well, I remember when I was a kid, the neighborhood kids, a couple of them had older brothers that had like all the Friday the 13th movies. So that, we'd sneak over there and we'd watch the stuff. And I'm not ashamed to admit that when I had my first copy of Jason Goes to Hell, the scene in the tent had some weird tracking errors from being paused and rewound so many times. Because I think my sex education came from Friday the 13th movies. And I remember I bought, it's the weirdest thing. I can't get off unless the person gets split in half with a tent pole now. It's the strangest thing.
Same.
Yeah, I know. It makes for really uncomfortable dates. I mean, I think we've all been there. But I remember I picked up a copy of Species at a video store closeout when I was like 12. And my little brother was going to think on me. And I was like, I will murder you if you get this movie taken from me. So that was like currency at school. It's like $5 you can borrow Species. And it's just funny now because now like my 11-year-old cousin is on like, you ever see Two Girls, One Cup? And I'm like, what, huh?
That's the second
time.
That's the second time.
Yeah, well, it's the shock. It's the shock if it's, the new wave of shock era. So I guess I have Faces of Death. They've got Two Girls, One Cup. Mm-hmm. I don't know which is worse for a kid to see, honestly. But
well, which one is more real? It's hard to figure out. It's a granular distinction.
Yeah, that's really funny. I just picked up the Blu-ray of Faces of Death because of the documentary with the effects artists. So now, even when I was a kid, I was like, this doesn't look real. Some of it looks real. And then I got Traces of Death, and
that's pretty real.
Salvation Army. Yeah, that was definitely a little bit different of a viewing experience for me. That one made my stomach feel weird.
Before Faces was the Autopsy one, and that stayed with me for a while. I've been training my entire life to watch horrific things because that was the first one that I felt like really got me, and it was hard to like move past looking at all that real death. Now I watch Killing of America during Christmas with my dad. Now we're good. It's a true story.
Well, it's funny when I was able to watch Faces of Death and all that when I was younger with no problem. And then the older I get, the less not that it's, that I should be watching that stuff for entertainment value, but as an effects artist, I have to look at reference photos all the time now. And I'm my stomach used to be cast iron, and I just can't take it anymore. I can't look at that shit. It bothers me so much now. And it's just so weird. When I was a kid, I'm like munching pizza, like trying to pop in as many Faces of Death movies as I could to try to screw with people, see who would get sick. And, now I look at like someone just a bad hand injury, and I'm like, oh, God, why? Why did this happen?
You have to train harder, Mike.
Yeah.
You got to get immersed in it.
This is not the first time I've heard this, where you've got this reverse squeamish thing going on, where as a kid, a person could watch anything, and now it's like, well, with my old age, I feel like I can't take it anymore. You're not the first one to tell me that.
Well, that's good to hear. At least I'm not alone. I feel like it's my empathy gland has grown. As I've attained more and more grievous injuries or seen them in person, I think the actual ramifications of it started to affect me more. I don't know if it's necessarily the viscera that really bothers me. And I don't know. It's weird. I had to, I was doing an effects piece for an author friend of mine, Edward Lee, and he wanted some testicles that were out of the bag, so to speak. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, yeah, sure, no problem. So I just started typing and thinking I could find some anatomy photos. Well, you fall down the internet rabbit hole and you end up on like genital mutilation fetish boards, which is the only place you can get actually good reference. And I saved a bunch of those photos and I attached them to the email with the final product, and I was like, yeah, fuck you, never again. And I just couldn't sleep for days. I'm like, ugh. Scissors don't belong in that thing. That's not what happens. That's bad.
I just want to take a second here for anyone who's listening to say, all of you who like to watch your movies with the prosthetic effects and the hard workers who make those effects, listen to what they have to go through. going through genitorture fetish sites so they can get proper anatomical pictures for your viewing pleasure.
But that's why it was fun when I was painting some of the work on Circus of the Dead. They're going like, that really looks like a dead body. He's like, how do you know? And I said, I could paint lividity with my eyes closed because of all the internet research. You just give me a corpse, give me some light text. It's like, I'll make them look like, they need to.
It's a good skill set to have.
I remember like even on the Singleton's Crane is like painting the tips of the fingertips like that purple that the corpses get, like knowing those specific details, but I'm horribly ghoulish now.
Yeah, it's like I watch movies now and I'm like, the blood's not even pulling in the right spot. It's like, what the hell? Gravity, people, come on. Everyone's like, Jesus, just calm down. And like that level of putrefaction it's too light. Should be more off yellow.
That's right. Knows what he's talking about, folks.
So it was like film school training, and VHS was a film school training for me. Eventually, I guess what I'm getting out of all this.
Well, that's a beautiful thing. It launched careers, which no doubt.
Yeah, well, it changed my life watching all those whacked out movies. And the thing is, you can't find. I mean, I know this has been mentioned probably 1,000 times, but you can't find a lot of these movies on any other format but video. And, most of those movies would never have a chance of getting released nowadays if they were made, just because of how subversive and weird they were. Because, like I said, video stores they wanted anything. So, you get guys like Lizard Video and Canon and stuff. They're just charting out, the most off-the-wall shit. And it really, between that and like Monster Vision and Chiller Theater, all those late-night horror shows and stuff I grew up watching too, I got to see so much stuff. And it's you'd see like part of it on late night TV, and then you'd go to the video store and see the cover. It's like, that's the movie. I can watch it, all of it now. And it would be like, you're so much more invested when you have to hunt for something. Like with Netflix, or people go on, I get arguments with people a lot because they'll see like Cannibal Holocaust. And they're like, oh, that's not even that bad. And I was like, how did you find out about this movie? They're like, well, I saw a BuzzFeed list of like the top 10 most disturbing movies, and it's not even that bad. Like Saw is gorier. And I'm like, I just am like grinding my teeth because it's like you don't have the historical context to go along with it, and you didn't work to see this. This was like taboo. You had to find it, and then it's a different experience than if you can just pop it on Netflix and just turn it off after 8 minutes and swap to the next one. You didn't have that option back then. And I mean, I guess it's not fair to say that changes how good a movie is, but it's certainly the experience of it. I think was certainly a lot different.
And certainly,
it's very much what I imagine people would get to.
Yeah, our perception of the value, of the experience too. When you hear people like, "Yeah, I turned that off after 20 minutes because I know there's a lot of other stuff I could watch," whereas that's not something that was not a choice before. I mean, you got it, you brought it home,
no, not at all.
Watched it.
It was about commitment. VHS.
Yes.
No, absolutely. I think that's why people have commitment issues these days, because they didn't have VHS.
And the Saw movies, while brilliant and important, Cannibal Holocaust has sort of like a bleak, depressing feel to it, and actual real animal mutilation.
Yeah.
Well, absolutely. People don't know, I tell them that, like, there was court cases they had to prove that they didn't actually, like, kill their cast, and they're like, how could anybody think that was real? Actually, I was just showing my girlfriend Contamination, the Luigi Cosby movie, and there was a little documentary on the Blu-ray, and it's from the 70s, and he's talking about, or I guess the early 80s, making the movie, and he keeps saying that all this is special effects, that in film everything's an illusion, it's fake. And she's like, why does he keep saying that? And I was like, you have to remember, back then you didn't have Face-Off and YouTube tutorials and stuff. Like, movies were still magic. People didn't know how this stuff was done. So seeing a little behind-the-scenes thing like this on TV was like a huge deal. And, they don't realize that you don't actually kill actors when they're in movies and stuff. Monsters aren't necessarily real. The blood is fake. Well, yeah.
But that's more sacrifice to the film gods.
Yes.
Well, this is true. I've unfortunately been on sets where they thought that simulating violence was stupid and they should just do it for real. And I always say, it's like, this is why you hired me, so you don't hurt people, but they never listen. And it's like, all right, I'm done here. This is bad. Real violence doesn't look good anyway. Real violence doesn't look good on tape.
It looks very awkward. And I'm always fascinated when I would watch it. Because it just, even like Bud Dwyer's killing, how weirdly he falls to the ground like a rag doll.
And then it looks like
how the blood looks.
They turn on the tap in his nose, and it's just like Kool-Aid splashing out. It's bizarre. Yeah, people don't realize that. But the best advice I ever got as an effects artist was to make something look real, you have to make it look fake.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because people have a perception of what violence is because of movies. So, yeah. But, well, I don't want to take up any more of you guys' time. I can I'll hop off. You have another person in queue.
We have someone who's been waiting a while, but I mean, this has been such a great conversation, and I'm very thankful that the people who wait in the queue can listen to our conversation as they wait, because I hate...
Yeah, that definitely helped a lot, because I was afraid I was going to have to turn off I had my speakers turned off because there was feedback, and then I heard it through the phone. I was like, thank God, this makes this so much better, because I don't miss out on the show then at the same time.
Exactly.
So,
well, thanks so much for calling and giving us your professional perspective too. It's such a great. It's true.
So you guys can't see the air quotes around professional, but thank you.
No one can see it though.
It was a pleasure being on. Thank you guys, and I'll talk to you later. Good luck with the rest of the show.
Thanks so much.
Yep. See ya. Yeah. Bye.
All right, moving on. Hello.
Hello, guys.
Hi, who are we talking to?
It is Rebecca McKendry. How are you guys doing?
Oh, Rebecca McKendry.
Rebecca McKendry.
Holy shit.
I've been listening online, and I absolutely love what you guys are doing, and I was like, holy shit, two of my favorite people have a podcast. I'm fucking calling in, so I called in.
Well, I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled that you called. Thanks so much.
Oh, thank you guys. This has been great to listen to. I've been totally enjoying this. So, kick-ass show, guys.
Thank you. Thank you. So, lady, tell us about your relationship with VHS.
Well, it's why I kind of pursued a career in horror. It's everything to me. Like, VHS is truly my start, standing in video stores. And I was, my parents were, I'll call them ex-hippies. They still are, where I was kind of raised in this household where as long as I was making straight A's, they never really controlled what I was watching. So they would rent me anything I wanted from like a super young age. And because of that, I saw everything that the video store had before like age 12. But it's everything to me. And so like I still have my VHS collection. I still have my VCR. I take it in to be repaired all the time. There's a guy in North Hollywood who fixes VCRs. So he cleans mine up every couple of months whenever I'm like, it's acting a little wonky. But as I've gotten older, it's become really clear to me kind of how much I treasure my VHS tapes and how much I kind of miss the experience of picking out movies. And I mean, now I don't even know how people pick out movies now. I can't imagine like going to Netflix and kind of having the same experience that I used to have going through video stores. Like, I don't know what people do on dates anymore. Because like that used to be a thing where, you know, you would kind of pick the person up and then you would go walk through Blockbuster together and kind of, that's where you made small talk about what movie you wanted to rent, things like that. And, yeah, it's just so many of my my memories circle back to VHS tapes. And so much so that I've now, when I'm trying to find new horror films, things that I've never seen before, a lot of what I end up watching is still things on VHS tape because somebody will come up to me and be like, oh, have you seen Allison's Birthday? And I'm like, no, I have never seen this movie. And then they're like, it's trapped on tape. It never made it to DVD. I don't even know if it got a release stateside. And so then I'm immediately on eBay trying to score a VHS copy of Allison's Birthday. And that happens a lot. And so a lot of the movies that I'm still kind of discovering myself are still on VHS tape.
Man, that was beautiful. I'm so glad we have that on tape.
Oh my God. So, yeah, and there's still, like, I definitely have sacred ones in my collection that, you know, when people come over, I'm like, oh, my God, I have this on big box. I have this one on clamshell. I have the original, as you guys were just talking about, I have the original bleeders with the blood-filled pouch, which the blood's kind of dried up over the past, like, 20-some years, but it's still pretty freaking cool. So, yeah. And a couple of years ago, this was back when I was living in New York City and working for Fangoria, my old childhood rental store was this place called Video Vault in Alexandria, Virginia. And they, sadly, like most VHS rental stores, they were closing down. And so the guy who ran it emailed me on like a Friday morning and was like, Becca, we just want to let you know that we're closing the shop. You'd always been a huge supporter of us. We just want to let you know that we're closing and we're going to be selling off all of this stock in the shop just in case, you know, you might want to come down and pick something up. I left Fangoria at 5 p.m. By 6 p.m., I picked up my car from Red Hook because that's where I used to park it because I couldn't afford to park my car in the city. And then I drove all the way down to the store. I got there by about 10 o'clock, right as they were closing, put as much as I could on my credit card, and then drove back up to New York that night.
And how many of those do you still have? Do you still have all of them?
All of them. Oh my gosh, yeah. And some of them, I mean, like they've still been released. I have the clamshells for White Trash 1 and 2. And those have been released to Blu-ray now. A lot of the films I picked up have been released to Blu-ray now. I think Severin just did White Trash 1 and 2. But, I mean, those for me, that was like my ultimate pilgrimage. That was like my late night drive down the highway in an effort to try to save these VHS tapes from falling into the wrong hands. So, yeah, I will save every single one of those. I came back with a trunk full and then loaded them all back into my tiny little New York studio, wondering if I'd done the right thing because I, like, completely maxed out a credit card and I had no money at the time. But for me, I mean, that's what brought me happiness. And so, yeah, I still have all of them.
Well, I want to see pictures of this library, and I'm just picturing, I don't know why I'm picturing this, Rebecca, but you remember that Lucille Ball movie, the long trailer or whatever? I'm picturing you going on a cross-country trip with a huge trailer, just nothing in it but VHS. Forget my clothes, forget any food. I just need my VHS.
But we are very fortunate. Sorry about that, Heather. Go ahead.
I was going to say is like the idea of also, do you feel like you're rescuing the VHS? Because I always felt that way when the video stores were just going out of business, that you had to go and raid them all and save all those precious tapes.
That's it, exactly. There's so many that I'm like, I just sit there and I think, you know, this is going to end up at a Goodwill and whoever picks it up is not going to know the value of Queens of Evil like I do. And it's a weird kind of ownership that you take over these things. But, you know, when the movie The Brain becomes personal to me and it's like a memory, the act of having that VHS tape in my collection, it somehow means something. And it's weird and totally just, you know, kind of filling a memory from my childhood because it's not like The Brain is actually a good movie in any capacity. But it's still kind of just that nice, you know, like I like to look at the box covers occasionally. And my daughter thinks it's kind of nuts. But, yeah, we are fortunate, I will say, here in Los Angeles that we do have a couple of video shops left that still stock a huge amount of VHS tapes. There's actually one just up the street from my house. Eddie Brandt's Saturday Matinee is just the mecca of VHS tapes. And it's great when you go in there because you'll see kind of notables from the horror world in there kind of picking up other stuff, like Quentin Tarantino goes there and people like that. So it's a nice little, it's run down and you walk in and it smells musty and it's got this kind of like old book smell to it, but you still get to kind of walk through the shelves and peruse everything just like you used to.
Oh, man. I've been there many times and it is, I mean, it's church, right? It's religious.
Have you been over to Vidiot in Santa Monica?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that one is wonderful. I wish I lived closer to it.
I need to visit all those stores. I did give, much like a church story, I went to Suspect Video while I was at TIFF and paid my regards there by getting a T-shirt, buying some old periodicals, and I asked the owner if I could have one of the sections that has these cult logo stuffs on it. I got the punk rock section, the divider, as a memory.
Oh,
but it has passed on Suspect Video.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm sad to see that one go too. I remember when I was in New York when Mondo Kim shut down. And first we didn't realize they were closing. They were just moving a couple blocks over off of Astor Place. And then everybody wondered what happened to their massive collection. And I remember reading an article a couple of months later that the collection had actually been sold to this town in Italy, but no one had seen any of the movies. Like they weren't on display or they weren't available. And then there was this like huge uproar of what happened to the Mondo Kim tapes. But man, I loved that place.
This is turning into a eulogy, but I guess that's appropriate.
Well, I do have to say that some of these things that I in no way condone any type of bootlegging or anything like that, but some of the things that I have seen that, I thought were trapped on tape have definitely been kind of getting more coverage and more exposure online, and then it kind of reinvigorates interest in the movie. Mm-hmm. So even though that it kind of gets nefarious for a little bit, the chatter that happens online definitely helps increase knowledge for some of these films that are specifically, kind of lost on VHS tape. There's a number one, and I mean, well, what we're seeing right now is people like Code Red and Scream Factory and Severin and Scorpion and all these wonderful companies that pay attention to what the horror fans are talking about. This, oh my gosh, do you remember this movie? Yeah, it's still on VHS tape. You can't see it anymore. And they're paying attention and then releasing these. And then we get these beautiful, cleaned up Blu-ray releases where Pieces was never meant to look that good, but it looks absolutely brilliant. And it's fantastic as a fan. This is an amazing time to be alive just because you get these movies from our childhood, plus we get all of these bonus features, and they've cleaned it up and just made it look phenomenal. So it's just like a collector's mecca right now.
And I think, that was mentioned by Heather earlier, is that is where the market has gone in terms of home video, is these collector's editions where the care and the special features and the restoration are top notch, and they're a little pricier, but they're worth it, and they're limited. So it's not like thousands. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it becomes something that truly is like a diamond that we can appreciate more, and I think the value is there again in those releases. Yeah,
and it definitely, because they cost a little bit more, it really kind of makes me kind of pick and choose what's going into my collection now. When DVDs used to be super cheap, everything I could get my hands on, I was like, oh, what? Wrong Turn 4? Sure, I don't own this. I'll just put it in. Never watch it. And if I did, I'd just be like, oh, okay, that was what I expected Wrong Turn 4 to be. But with these, I'm always now a little bit choosier about what I put into my collection. Because like when you're looking at like the Arrow videos, some of them are pretty pricey. Or the new ones that Vestron's putting out. And so I'm kind of like, oh, do I really need Blood Diner? Yes, I fucking need Blood Diner. So I'll get that one. But yeah, it's kind of making me reevaluate my collection as well. But I'm having a blast with a lot of the releases. By the way, the Blood Diner Blu-ray is killer.
Thank you.
It is magical. I have to concur there. It's one of my favorite of these new waves of releases. Brilliant work.
Well, Anyway, guys, thank you so much for picking up. I've been listening to the show for a while on my computer while I was working, and then I was like, I'm calling in.
I love it.
You guys
we're so honored to have you. You're the best.
You're the best.
Crazy. Wonderful job, guys. I love both of you guys. Continue with this wonderful, wonderful show.
We'll be back next month.
Awesome. Take care, guys. Next time you're out in LA, let me know.
I will. Good night, Rebecca.
Good night.
Well, Heather, I think that was our last caller of the evening. And what a way to
she's a great lady. She's a great lady with wonderful stories.
Oh man, beautiful, beautiful stuff. I want to say that this episode has been so epic that it had to be split into 2 episodes. Because at our first plan, we were allowed 3 hours, and I upgraded to now allow us 5 hours. It's a little more expensive, but it sounds like we're going to need it. And so if you go on to Spreaker right now to try to catch up with what went on earlier tonight, you'll see episodes 1 and then episode 1 part 2. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take both those episodes, I'm going to edit them together into one and make them available on Spreaker, on iTunes, on all podcast services, on the website, masshypnosisnow.com, which is still a work in progress. And it will be available in one huge, beautiful, epic piece by tomorrow. What do you think about how today went?
I have never been so happy to have all our horror friends out there in the world and new horror friends talk about the things that they love and have a platform for it. Like, I really have never been so happy.
Well,
I think it makes me I feel so wonderful.
Well,
I want them to talk about things that they love. I love to listen to people talk about the things they love and that are important to them more than anything else.
You know, a common thread throughout almost all of the conversations tonight was, you know, the thing I miss about VHS was that you used to have to go and talk to someone. There was a social aspect.
Well, we do have a social aspect now. The problem is, and it's always been a problem when it comes to social media or when they consider social media sort of in marketing, the idea of sharing information, is that going to a store, there was a limited amount of content. Someone was an expert about that content and they could offer you suggestions. Mm-hmm. Now we're connected to a world of hundreds of thousands of experts and so much content that it's very hard to figure out what to do next, because there's such great opinions. There's such great movies. There's so many things to try. But to get sort of that personal experiences of going in like 4 times a week, talking, looking at things, putting them down, that kind of one-on-one. Because I think a lot of these people that told you what to rent, they were your. It's almost like a psychiatrist. It's like you're doing a cold read of what you might be into. I actually, when I would go to VHS stores, no one would make recommendations because I was there with my Fangoria, Gorzone knowledge, and again, like all the different books, Psychotronic, Phantom the Movie Guide. I say that one specifically because that's kind of where I would read stuff about Ninth Configuration and how to rent it just based on what they would say.
Right.
And that was my own sort of like expert books I would bring around with me to try to find them. But it's more intimate. It was a more intimate journey than what we have now, because the internet is not about intimate. It's about a wonderful vastness of knowledge. Mm-hmm. But it's so much knowledge.
You hit the nail on the head.
Because I don't even know what to watch. And I hope our listeners at home know what I do. I don't know. That's why I watch Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3 on VHS all the time. It's like, what's next? Like, I go to film festivals because, again, like, expert opinions are there, limited horror content.
Curation.
Yes. And like ruthless curation.
Yes, true. You know, a cliche applies here, you know, a mile wide and an inch deep. That's kind of what we have with the internet. We've got this vastness, but you don't go beneath the surface very much anymore. And you just described to me what we used to do. We used to pore over these tomes and dig to find everything that we were reading about, and said, oh, this person made this movie and now I have to go find that movie, and it might take me 5 years to find that movie. And that detective work, that was part of the experience. And, you know, if you describe that now to someone who didn't experience it, their reaction would probably be, that sounds fucking horrible. That sounds like way worse than it is now. So there's no real way to explain it to them that, like,
we were genre monks.
Yes. It was a pilgrimage.
We were there and we studied it. That's why a lot of times we become writers or have our own film fest, become filmmakers, because we studied in the world of horror and movies, and we know what's going on because you had to. There was no other choice. You could never. Some of the movies you watch, like the first magazine that I bought was Gore Zone. It was not Fangoria. It was Gore Zone #9 with Laughing Dead on the cover. Mm-hmm. I have never seen Laughing Dead. There's probably copies out there that are bootlegged. I have never seen it. There's another movie that was in Fangoria Gore Zone called The Boy That Cried Bitch. I know that Mike Gingold has like a VHS screener copy, and it was never released. Mm. But things like that, things that you obsess over, dream over, draw pictures of before like Mondo and all these beautiful artists who do all this great art of everything you loved in horror. You know, you were doodling them on your cover. You tried to get as much horror as you could because it was a horror drought.
It's true.
Now we're drowning in movies. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It's just hard to find what to watch.
It's very, I don't know, what's the word? There's a conflict because it's both fantastic and not fantastic. I feel like, you know, I said this when I was talking to my friend who used to run a video store. It's like if a mountain rose up out of the ground made out of gold, then gold would be worthless. You know, it feels, you know, like it's a beautiful time, but each title has lost some of its magic because of the time we're in. And maybe like Michael said, I'm just getting old and cranky. I don't know.
I'm not really cranky because I know there's great stuff out there. I just think it's hard to get that one-on-one because I do get messages on my Facebook site or my close friends, and they go like, "What do I watch?" And I mostly point to the stuff that I've seen at Film Fest, but not things that I've found on my own on all the streaming services. I mostly watch series. I don't use them to watch film. When I watch film, I'm at a film fest. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Or I'm at a repertory theater. I want to see it big. I want that experience. I want to be immersive. I don't want to look at my phone, even though when I pick it up after 90 minutes, you know, it's blown up. And then you swear you can never see a movie for as long as you live because you can't deal with all that email.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. But I turn the phone off when I go to the movies. And
the holy place, Alamo. Alamo is church. I can't think of anything that I'm more happy. Even in Brooklyn, where there is no parking and I have to pay for the tunnel, parking my car, and a ticket, I don't care. It does not keep me away from.
I've only been to the one in Austin.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've only been to the one in Austin, so I'd like to go to the one in New York.
There's two. There's one in Yonkers and there's one in Brooklyn.
Holy cow.
And that's another thing altogether because there's the idea of VHS and then there's 35 millimeter collecting, yes. Which is probably the ultimate form of collecting. And as we know, I just got Chainsaw 2.
Well, on that note,
on 35.
that's beautiful. Oh, I know. Did you win it?
Yes, I own it.
I think
because you have to rescue these things. You can't let them go into the hands of.
Yeah, no. Thankfully, there are a lot of preservationists out there that are attempting to rescue these. You know, you and I have been furiously on social media here. As we talk to people because you're tweeting and I'm on Facebook and I've been getting Facebook messages from people who are listening. Thanks everybody. That's awesome. But one of the people who's been messaging me is King from Fantasia Film Festival. He says he's loving the episode. I love him too. I'm trying to think of a pun right now, but I'm blanking. But the reason I bring him
He will give us the pun we're looking for.
Yeah. If he's still listening, he might. But I bring him up because when it comes to collecting 35 millimeter, that's something that we talk about a lot because I know he has a lot of great stuff on 35 and he knows a lot of people who collect 35. And of course, you know, we have New Beverly Cinema just a couple hours north of me where you've got Brian Quinn and of course Quentin Tarantino, but that just have an insane stock and library of 35 millimeter reels that they are showing and displaying again. So collection of those reels is a huge thing. And unearthing of those reels that have been lost, buried in some cave somewhere. You keep hearing these stories pop up. It's pretty awesome.
So 35 millimeter is the ultimate VHS.
Well, yeah, if you go, and yeah, it is. It is the ultimate VHS. But I do remember, I still have actually 8 millimeter versions of films that are from just before VHS home video took off. And these films are cut to shreds. I think the movies are like 16 minutes, 25 minutes. But I have one for Varan the Unbelievable. I have one for Godzilla versus the Thing. And they're just little 8 millimeter reels that you used to be able to buy and watch on your 8 millimeter projector.
I want to believe that I may have had that. It's vague. My youth is very vague in Central Jersey, but I may have had a projector at some point.
I don't have an 8 millimeter one anymore. I have 2 16 millimeter projectors.
Hot.
Yeah. So I do want to start really pushing some 16 millimeter screenings, because I've got a bunch of reels of that, and start collecting some of those. I do not have a 35, of course, but who knows? One time in the future.
Maybe Santa will bring it one year to your house.
Dream. We can dream, can't we?
That would be great.
All right. Well, let's wrap this up. Why don't you tell people what they can expect from Mass Hypnosis Podcast on Tuesday, February 28th at 9 p.m. Eastern?
Well, since we have you on our spell currently, we're going to talk about diversity in cinema, because it's February and it's a very important month, Women in Horror, Black History Month. And when I travel all over the world and visit all different sorts of people, I love meeting all different horror fans. And I used to ask a lot of my friends, because I have a lot of people of color as my friends, and we were all great horror fans, and it would dawn upon me, because I would take sort of like the things about diversity as a producer and just keep it always top of mind. And I would go like, you love horror movies so much. Are you sad that horror movies don't look like you? And when you ask that question, the answer, though they won't bring it up themselves, is consistently yes. And I always think it's important that if you love a medium, it should reflect you. It should reflect all fans, and also behind the camera. And I just want everyone's opinions talking about diversity in cinema, goals, why it's great, what it means when they see themselves represented. What does representation mean in the genre? Because the genre, I think, is a very personal medium.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very much so. I mean, it's so personal that you get arguments among fans over, well, I thought this movie was terrifying. Well, I didn't think it was that scary. And it's because you bring your own baggage to these movies. And no genre, in my opinion, is as like personally and primally touching who you are as an animalistic human being as the horror genre. It's what you're afraid of. And that's different for so many people. And the great thing about thinking about diversity, particularly the people behind the camera or creating the stories, is we can see what different people are afraid of when they bring their own experiences to the table.
Very important, and it expands the type of stories that get to be told.
And that can only make things better.
Yes. So that next month is what we're going to talk about.
Fuck yes. Heather Buckley, it has been an honor to launch this show with you.
I feel the same. I'm very happy. I can't wait till next month. I can't wait to folks that didn't get a chance to call in. Don't be shy. Would love to have you next month. And as you said, the podcast is going to be everywhere. So we'd love your comments. Post on all of our social media. Keep the conversation going. I never get wary of looking at VHS and talking about VHS.
Yeah, we'll probably revisit this topic sometime later, too.
All right. We should sign off for this evening. It's almost 1 a.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Craziness. Remember, everybody, this show is going to be the last Tuesday of every month at 9 p.m. Eastern. Find us on Spreaker at Spreaker.com/show/mass-hypnosis, and we'll be posting about it on all social media. We actually need to start a Facebook group or Facebook page for this show and get people talking together and gear them up for calling in. We're going to leave us with, I have a variety of things to play, but I think I'm going to go with Vincent Price. Someone, I think it was Michael, was talking earlier about filthy VHS and how you had to clean the machines. And I have here Vincent Price talking about how we can do that. Good night, Heather.
Good night, Miguel, wherever you are.
In hell.
Oh, I do enjoy an evening with a little light entertainment. But when your video heads get dirty, you lose your picture. Not a pretty sight. Happily, this new Polaroid video cassette will help you. It actually cleans your heads as it plays, so dirty heads needn't haunt you. New Polaroid video cassettes. Get the picture?